The Cardinals, but Arizona's not going to make it easy, and the Finns need a win. A lot of Tua talk this week, a lot of questions about his health and the risk he's taking by playing again.
Everything, I think, takes risk. To answer that question, every time we all suit up, we're all taking a risk that we could potentially get hurt, whether it's a concussion, a broken bone, anything. You get up off of the bed the wrong way, you potentially could risk you spraining your ankle. There's just risk in any and everything, and I'm willing to play the odds. That's it.
Tyreek Hill is ready for Tua to be back in the lineup.
Having Tua back will get us back, man. Like, having Tua back, man. He's a big part of this team, bro. He's a franchise, dog. And anybody that doesn't see that or doesn't believe it, like, go to another team. I could care less right now, man. But like I said, I miss the dude, bro. This whole team misses him, bro.
Well, we shall see, and we certainly hope for the best. Dolphins, Cardinals. Kickoff not too far away, and we'll get into it all. Time for Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans. Tobin and Solana with Omar and Beasley on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Edmore's has your back. Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. Edmore's is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
Morning, everybody! It's another edition of Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Dolphins, Cardinals, week 8 of the NFL season. Tobin here with you alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana. Dan Day producing this shindig here today on this glorious Sunday morning. Tua Tagovailoa has returned as QB1 from his concussion. Oh, so excited. Solana, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Tobin. What could go wrong? Let's do this, baby. Let's go.
What could go wrong? What could go wrong, baby? We're in a situation right now. We have been watching some of the worst quarterback play we have seen in a long time. Not the worst quarterback play ever. I mean, this is a fan base that is hardened by the likes of A.J. Feely and Cleo Lemon, but it has been a while. We've been spoiled. And after too much Tim Boyle and too much Snoop Huntley and a Skylar Thompson, woo, it is good to have Uno back today. It will be good to have Uno back today on the field and hopefully seeing something that looks like offense against a, Cardinals team.
Let's just be fun again, man. That's what, you know what, Tobin? Last year sucked the way the season ended, but at least the team was fun all season long.
Right.
Let's just go out and be fun again today. Don't make me miserable for 4 quarters.
I want to have a Sunday that is enjoyable. I would like to see a little thing they call touchdowns. I don't know if you've heard of them, Solana. I would like to see those. I would like to see those. Maybe multiple touchdowns. Maybe we'll get crazy. We'll get in the end zone twice today.
Multiple.
We'll see touchdown dances. Multiple touchdowns.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see something like that today.
All right. Okay. What are those? That's 6 points? 6 points?
Yeah, dude. That is the key. Is you try and score those. They are worth way more than field goals. So that's what I'm hopeful for. Because last week was tough, man. I mean, last week, you probably should have had that one in the bag. Also boring, but you had a plan, and then once again, just an epic turnover to just completely yak up a game that the Dolphins could have won. And it came from really unlikely sources, too. I mean, Raheem Mostert and Alec Ingold. And I'm just like, how are they inventing new ways to lose?
Yeah, both those guys, like, if I had to choose two guys on the roster who aren't going to fumble, they're like top 5 on the list, Tobin. So it was frustrating, man. Bro, I know we're going to get into it, but Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle having less yards combined than Alec Ingold. Like, I know we finally saw Jonnu Smith kind of come out of his shell a little bit. That was cool. And after the first drive, you're thinking, okay, like maybe there's something here. And then it's just Tim Boyle again at the end of the game, and he's throwing a ball to Malik Washington out of bounds, not giving you a chance. And you're just like, what are we watching, man? What are we watching? So, Tobin, no joke. I really hope this team looks like it did last year today. I really, really hope it does, because, man, this would be a tough one today to lose with Tua coming back. Like, the expectations that are being set right now with his return, it would be a tough one to lose.
It's one of these things. It does feel very much like, okay, you were hopeful. We talked about this a lot. Hey, how can you get through the Tua-less run, and where would you be at? And, you know, it wasn't fantastic. They're 2-4. It's not a death sentence because they're right now in the mix with a lot of teams, but
yeah,
this one feels very much like the season. If it's going to be anything, it feels like it hangs in the balance with this week, because while there are injuries on defense that we'll get to, your offense is as healthy as it's ever been. And you have a Cardinals team that's not great defensively, losing key defenders. They're coming into your building. This is what the Mike McDaniel era has been built off of, Solana. Mad to bad teams coming to Hard Rock Stadium and torching them. That is what all the excitement was built off of. That is what this era really has been. Now, we can look into that and do some self-diagnosis on, like, was that, you know, is that great? Maybe not. But one thing I do know is the Dolphins, usually this is a game when they have their quarterback, this is a game they've taken care of. And if they don't, then yeah, it all feels lost. But if you're able to get this one and you're able to, you know, get yourself to 3-4 with a big time showdown next week on the road, you know, not to count chickens, but you can really, really right the ship. But if you don't start today, and then I don't know, we're going to start looking at trades. We're going to be sellers.
Yeah.
So this is a huge Sunday. This is a huge Sunday for this team on if they're going to really do anything. Is this season going to mean anything?
I imagine Chris Greer has his bags packed already, just in case. Like, if things don't go well today, Tobin, then he might as well just skip town, because
he's not going anywhere.
He's not
going anywhere.
I don't know.
He's not going anywhere, dude. He's not going anywhere.
I don't know. But hey, you know what, Tobin? All these years hanging around professional athletes, Crowder every day, Leroy listening to you every single day, Joe Rose, I've learned one thing. Athletes don't look ahead. They prioritize task at hand, as you always say. Right. And you're right. There's probably some more introspective thought process needed about why this Dolphins team can't compete with elite teams. They can only beat mediocre to bad teams. But we don't have to do that right now. Task at hand. What's in front of you? Focus on the next game. And that's a mediocre-ass Arizona Cardinals team that needs to get their ass beaten today at Hard Rock Stadium. And this is what Mike McDaniel does. You're 100% right. Beat mediocre teams. Give me a 70 burger today. Just make it fun, please. Give me some touchdowns.
I'll take a 21 spot and I'll be happy right now. 70. That seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Seems like a whole nother world when they were dropping 70 on the Denver Broncos.
Did I see a stat that the Dolphins haven't through week 7 haven't scored 70 points total?
I don't know if that's true, but I believe that because they're the worst scoring team in the league.
They have exactly 70 points through 6 games.
Oh, wow!
I thought I saw that.
Yeah, dude, it's bad. It's bad. It's been bad. But I think also, like, the thing that was disappointing with last week, and the thing that's been disappointing with them is, you know, yeah, they've certainly had to go find new ways to be competitive without their quarterback. But the thing that really pissed me off last week, I was like, man, they should have won that game on the road. And they're just a bad team because they find ways to lose. And even the guys you think are reliable that you should always be able to lean on, the Mosterts, the Ingolds, it's just like when they start messing up, you're like, well, who can you rely on in this team if you can't rely on them? That's the thing that was really disappointing about last week. And so you can't really chalk anything up. I just want to be clear here. Like, I'm not going out here saying the Cardinals should be a cakewalk, because obviously I know they have a very explosive quarterback who can, skip down the field willy-nilly for 50-yard touchdown runs, and he's got a hoose. He's got some fun weapons. They got a good running back. So I'm not dismissing the Cardinals. I'm just telling you, if the Dolphins are going to put all their eggs in the Tua basket, and we're going to debate later today about what he means to everything. And I do think that, it's been pretty obvious how much they miss having a functional quarterback for this team. But they also cannot shoot themselves in the foot, because there have been just some epic failures from even the game they won against the Patriots, special teams blunders, the Titans, the embarrassing Tyreek Hill turnover. There's been some just horrible, horrible moments for this team over the last few weeks.
Tobin, let's not forget they beat the Patriots by a toe. I mean, like they barely squeaked by what is probably the worst roster in the NFL. You're right. I mean, this isn't just a matter of Tua being out. I mean, obviously, I think that was the biggest factor, the biggest common denominator to the Dolphins looking like just garbage on the offensive end was Tua being out. But I think there's more at play there, right? Like you mentioned it, all the penalties, shooting yourself in the foot, constant mistakes. It just seemed like every time something could go wrong, it did. Today, there's so much relying on today, aside from what we already discussed, but also like, okay, you're hearing, and I know we're going to hear the audio, but you're hearing Tron Armstead talk about, the life that Tua injects into this team. You're hearing Anthony Weaver talk about the hope that the entire team is getting with Tua being back. You're hearing Tyreek Hill basically crying that Tua's being back. Everybody needs to lock in, because the fact that your two best players outside of Tua can't get the ball without Tua is more of a coaching issue, in my opinion, than it is a quarterback issue. And today, those things can't happen, right? Tua comes back. Everybody needs to play their absolute best football, because if not, you all just sound phony.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on for today. We got a lot to dive into. When we come back, Tua Tagovailoa is making his return. He made his return to the press this week and had a very fiery, defiant, feisty press conference talking about all his injuries, the frustration that he's gone with. We'll dive into a little bit of that. It's Gameday Uncensored, which is brought to you in part by your South Florida Chevy dealers. Looking for more power, capability, and technology with Chevy trucks. You're ready for anything Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Back with more Gameday Uncensored after this.
WQAM broadcasting live from the Ed Moore
560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here with you. We are streaming live on the Odyssey app, AUDACY, free in your app stores. You guys can listen to us there on demand. You can watch us on WQAM's YouTube and Twitch page. The handle there, Miami 560 WQAM. We will talk to Adam Beasley on the program from Pro Football Network, as we do at each and every edition of the show. And Omar Kelly will join us in the final hour, give us some thoughts going into this Week 8 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. Omar will join us around noon today, so we will talk to our insiders and get you every angle from this week. It has been a very, very crazy week over at Miami Dolphins camp. Obviously, we'll get to Tua here in just a second, but I'd be remiss, Salon, if I did not mention Zack Seeler is missing his first game in forever.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in curses, I don't know what you want to say about this, but the dude had his orbital bone fractured via eye poke at practice, and I just don't even know. I don't know. Like, this is not a game. Like, not to channel the great Allen Iverson, but holy crap, dude. Like, what kind of snake bit, cursed, bad mojo is that the most durable football player on this roster is like taken out via eye gouge? Like, this is UFC 308. This is crazy to me.
Yeah, this is the weirdest, man. We always say we're cursed and the burial ground, and I don't know what to make of it, but we're cursed. Like, we are. The weirdest possible things happen to this organization. Because, like, even with Tua, right, Tobin, where you finally get your franchise quarterback. Look, is he Patrick Mahomes? No. All right, fine. Because I know, all the Tua detractors are going to be like, oh, don't say that. He's a franchise quarterback, okay? But he has the weirdest thing happening with him as well, where he gets knocked out and then he has concussions and he's fencing on the ground. Like, everything about this franchise is just weird. You had your star wide receiver detained prior to the first game outside of the stadium. Like, just the weirdest things continue to happen. And then now Zack Seeler at practice is getting his eye poked, and it leads to him maybe, Tobin, like, he might miss more than just this game. We don't know yet definitively, but it's just the weirdest possible things happen to this franchise, man. The weirdest stuff.
It's really disappointing. We'll get more into Seeler later on, but I want to swing back to Tua here. So, all right, Tua gets cleared of concussion protocol this week. This was expected. Everybody had said that, he had been in very good spirits around the organization. We know that right after this happened, week 2, Thursday Night Football against the Bills, he was at Disney on Ice the next day. He's supposedly been, just feeling normal. Like, there hasn't really been the signs there, even though it did look pretty gnarly when he did go down. So he finally returns. It had to go 5 weeks instead of 4 because they had the bye week in there. But has his press conference on Monday.
Yeah.
And I listened to the whole thing, Solana. I don't know how much of it you did, but the first 3 minutes of it, very short answered, very tight-lipped, did not really want to engage with a lot of the media. And then, kind of in his Tua way, opened up a little bit more. And you can just tell, like, there's a lot of frustration there. There's a lot of, I don't know if animosity is too strong a word, but there's a lot of frustration there with this entire thing. I'll give you a little taste here. This was for our audience. This was Tua, who says he does feel like he's treated differently from other athletes. Here was Tua Tagovailoa.
I just think it's based off of whatever that individual feels. If you feel like you can go, you can go. I just think this is only becoming a thing just because of what ended up happening 2 years ago for myself within the sport. I hate that it's happened, but we don't look at boxers the same way. We don't look at hockey players the same way. But I just think because of what happened and the magnitude that it's becoming more of an issue here in the league.
There was a little bit of Tua. What did you make of it, Solana? Like, what did you make of the tone that Tua took with all of this? And why do you think you had a guy that, again, I don't want to say he was lashing out, but definitely felt like even the press conference felt like he had a chip on his shoulder a little bit.
It didn't feel, Tobin, like I have some bleep I have to get off my shoulder here. Like I have some bleep I need a dish out. And at first it almost seemed like, because you're right, it was like short answers. And I listened to all the cuts that you had cut up. And at first it's like he's trying to take the high road a little bit, kind of, and just be like QB coach speak. But then more and more questions are coming in, and he's like, all right, that's enough. I got to say something here. And look, I understand why Tua's upset, because to a certain extent, I think he's 100% right. I mean, the way and the reaction and even, the vitriol reaction almost, Tobin, to people or from people on a national scale and on social media, football fans really all claiming and clamoring that Tua should retire. And he's got to be thinking, well, hold on a second. Like, I'm not the only guy that gets concussed. In the NFL, like, how many players get concussed? And nobody's calling for them to retire. But that cut specifically there, Tobin, he's right. It goes back to what happened on Thursday Night Football in Cincinnati in 2022, week 4. But I will say, to be fair, I was there, okay? I was at the stadium in Cincinnati where I didn't know if Tua was dead or not for a few minutes. Literally working for the Dolphins radio broadcast, and we're all like, oh my God. Like, for 2 or 3 minutes, he's motionless on the ground after we all saw the initial fencing reaction. And I kind of put myself back in that moment. And I remember what I was thinking, which was, oh my God, like, please be alive, And then obviously, like, you see him moving and he's on the ground for a few more minutes, but he's at least present, right? Like he's there, which was like such a massive relief. So I kind of understand why now every time Tua takes a hit, everybody's like, bro, this guy's got to hang it up. Like, what's he thinking? We've talked about this, right? The bottom line is, let's let medical experts dictate what Tua Tagovailoa should do, and then he gets the final decision. And I think that's what he wants. He wants to be able to make a decision for himself, and he's frustrated that everybody seems to have their mind made up about what he should do with his career and not allow him and the medical experts that he's consulting actually be the ones decide to do for his career. It's got to be a frustrating thing time and time again that every time he takes a hit, Tobin, everybody's just telling him like, oh, that's it, you're done, you can't play football anymore. And he's like, well, hold on a second. Like, you don't have that same energy with everybody else who's going through injuries or who's suffering through concussions. The reality is, though, Tobin, everybody else's concussions, for the most part, don't look the way Tua's have looked. And I think that's a fair statement because, man, Thursday Night Football against Buffalo, week 2, I know, Tobin, you and I, we discussed it. I know everybody felt the same way, which was, oh no, not again, man, not again.
Of course, it was a nightmare. Like it was one of these things that, if you could write up like, hey, what's the worst thing that could happen to the Dolphins 2 weeks into the season? You're like, Tua going out via gnarly concussion. That's going to put him out a month. Like, it's because anybody who did have the questions, which were fair questions about his durability and this thing looming over his contract, and anybody who was hesitant about the Dolphins paying it. And to be fair, I wanted the Dolphins to pay him. I thought that he deserved it. But if you did have questions about it, this was the looming question. And it comes to a point right there, week 2, where already you're dealing with this question. And look, I get Tua's frustration. I also think that it shows a little bit of a lack of awareness if you don't understand, because look, this man knows for whatever reason, everything that he does get a reaction. Some of it is too much, and some I would say is too fair. This one, to me, I think you kind of just got to know it is what it is. This is going to be a storyline for your career. Just is. You know, this has been now a thing 2 out of the last 3 years, and they've looked bad. I do think that there's an element that's treated differently. We certainly don't look at Josh Allen or anybody else who's dealing with these concussions the same way. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a nasty one. But 1, he's a very famous player. 2, he's a guy that is talked about in the national scope. Quarterbacks are talked about differently, especially guys who, you know, everything that they do is getting a reaction. You know, is he the only guy that people have had concerns about concussion-wise? I don't think that's fair. You know, he mentions fighters there. You know that's a game to me that's very, very important. I think maybe in the scope of sports, it's maybe not. But in the realm of those personal avenues of the sport, they are talked about a lot. And I think the other element to this is he comes into this year with a little bit of defiance. You know, he comes into this year, he makes it, he gets the contract. He was giving up the figurative double middle fingers to everybody who doubted him. He's got almost a borderline arrogance to him coming into the season, and we're all loving it. We're like, hey, good for him. This is a great story where a guy was, you know, told by his own coach he wasn't good enough, and then, you know, is kicking a little dirt on him before the season starts. And then, all right, well, what's the number one thing besides his talent that everybody was worried about? It's, can he stay on the football field, and specifically his head health? And it happens. But it did happen. Like, we can't ignore it, and we can't act like we're not going to watch that game today. I'm super thrilled that he's back. Trust me when I tell you, as a Dolphin fan, I do not want to watch anybody else play quarterback right now for this team because it's awful. But it's going to be impossible not to think about any time there's contact near him, or if he takes a violent hit, or for, you know, if he goes out and tries to run a little bit, you're not going to be thinking about you're going to be nervous about it. Everybody is. And if you're not, you're just lying.
The whole time. And the reality is he is going to get hit, Tobin. Like, it's going to happen, whether it happens today, whether it happens next week. I mean, this is football. Like, it's the most violent sport there is. You don't go through a season without taking some sort of hits. You just don't, unless you're Tom Brady, you know, and then the referees basically make sure nobody gets near you. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, just going back to why people have this reaction, Tobin, we saw it. Like, you can't unsee what we saw Thursday night in Cincinnati, prime time in front of the entire national audience. You can't unsee what you saw against Buffalo, prime time against the entire national audience, something that we don't see with anybody else. So you're right. Like, this just is what it is for Tua Tagovailoa. Everybody's just going to be fearing for him every single time he's under center. And that's just something he's going to have to get used to, I think. But as far as like watching him, hey, he's on the field. He made this decision. Now get ready, because he's going to get hit, Tobin. He just is.
He is. But like, the thing that's also going to be tough as a fan and as people who watch the team and got to talk about the team, you know, I think back to that year a couple of years ago, and we always talk about the Cincinnati one because it was the scariest one, and rightfully so. And then there was a lot of scandal the Dolphins had to deal with. Did they cover something up? Did they misdiagnose what happened against Buffalo? It was 4 days later. But honestly, the one that's almost as frustrating, even though it wasn't as scary, was the Green Bay one. Because I think back to that game, and I always get made fun about this with my crew in the middays, because, you know, I joked that Tua ruined Christmas that day. Because if you guys remember, all I thought is Tua was having a great game and then had a lousy game in the middle of the Green Bay. When it turned out, what happened was some dude on Twitter was like, hey, I think Tua got concussed here. And then 2 days later, Mike McDaniel's having his press conference, goes, yeah, Tua's back in concussion protocol. And you're like, what? And so now it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, now we got to evaluate this guy. But now am I not going to think with these games? I'm like, all right, well, did he get knocked on his head at some point? Like, did he get knocked on his kid? How am I not going to think about that? So I'm happy. I'm glad he's overall, like, I'm glad that he's back out there. But I think it's pretty naive of Tua not to understand why at this point he is getting the coverage that he is, and thinking that it's going to go away. The thing that I also find interesting about this, Solana, is the IR element of it, because he said the company line this week, but he also made it very clear. I remember everything that happened. I've been thrown for 5 weeks. I felt fine. So where do we go from here? Like, if this does happen again, does every time this happens, he's out for 5 weeks or 4 weeks? Or can we judge this like other guys that get it? Can he do a Josh Allen where he's out there in a week? My guess would be no, is that we can't, because it's just been too much of a thing. And then, like, when does that come to a head with the organization and him as a player? Because I feel like if he's this frustrated after this, there's going to be a time where he's maybe not going to agree with what they want.
I was fine the day after. I remember perfectly watching Under the Sea and Hakuna Matata at Emirates Bank Arena when I went to Disney on Ice with Raheem Mostert and I think Jonnu Smith or whoever the hell it was. Like he wanted you to know he was fine. You paid a quarterback. This is a reality that the Dolphins are in right now. You paid a quarterback who, Tobin, you and I both agree, as far as on-field play and what the market values quarterbacks of his status that were putting up those numbers, he deserved that contract. From that perspective, period, end of story. I'm somebody who doesn't think Tua is in the same stratosphere as Mahomes and Josh Allen. I had my doubts that the Dolphins can win a Super Bowl prior to this year with Tua, but I still believed the reality was that the Dolphins had to pay him the money because quarterbacks of similar production were getting paid what Tua got paid. So I'm in agreement there. Like, I think he deserved the contract, but now you paid a quarterback who has concussion issues, injury prone, I think is a fair statement at this point, Tobin. And if he does go down, whether or not there's the fencing reaction or not, if you find out he's in concussion protocol for something as minor that nobody saw, like we saw versus Green Bay that you just mentioned, he has to miss 4 games minimum now. Is that the precedent that has been set for your starting quarterback? And if so, Tobin, that's a bad spot to be in for the Miami Dolphins, because
it is because
you're banking on somebody who, for the most part, now guaranteed is going to miss 4 games a season, it feels like.
We'll hear a little bit more from Tua coming on up and the other issues the Dolphins have to go with, because he also mentioned, he's not going to add extra equipment or none of that stuff. So we'll take a break. More Game Day Uncensored back after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line.
Now, let's get back to Game Day Uncensored. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM. FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM, getting you ready for Week 8. Miami Dolphins, Arizona Cardinals from Hard Rock Stadium. Dolphins back at the friendly confines this week as they welcome in Arizona, who is coming in off a short week. Got a win over the Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football. Last second field goal, Solana. But that is not an easy turnaround for them to travel cross country, short week, and deal with what they got to in this one. Interesting team as far as like they got a lot of interesting players and dynamic players, but not an overwhelming matchup either. So it's not like Tua's coming in here and taking on the Ravens or the Bills right off the bat.
Yeah, everybody kind of expected Arizona to have like this high-powered offense. And remember week 1 against Buffalo? Remember they had that big lead over Buffalo? They were in Buffalo to start the season. And everybody's like, okay, like, hey, Cardinals, new coaching staff. Like, they have new weapons, obviously, with Marvin Harrison Jr. All right, this offense is going to be really, really good. And it hasn't been. I watched that game last on Monday night versus the Chargers, and it was a grind fest, bro. Like, it really was. And then last drive, Arizona on a third down, Kyler Murray just kind of threw a 2-yard check down to James Conner, and he ran for 40 yards because of bad tackling, which is the only reason why they got set up for a field goal to win it as time expired. Like, it wasn't an impressive performance. This is not a team that, is putting up 30, 40 points a game, and the Dolphins are going to have to beat them in a shootout. If the defense plays the way that the defense has been playing, we were joking earlier, Tobin, 2 touchdowns. Just give us 2 touchdowns today. That actually might be enough for the Dolphins.
It's been really impressive how the defense, no matter what obstacle's been thrown at them, Anthony Weaver has been able to put forth a really, really competitive product. Yeah. Now today you lose Zack Seeler, which is brutal. You mentioned James Conner. He's had a really good year for them. The rushing attack is very formidable. You know that Kyler Murray is very dangerous. Even though like his numbers are very scattered, the guy can make home run plays, and you have to account for that. He's definitely got more experience than what you had to deal with that last week with Anthony Richardson, where you didn't feel like his throwing was a threat at all. This one, it doesn't feel like it's as big a threat, but you still have to account for it. And then, of course, he can bust loose. He can make home run plays. So it's not going to be a cakewalk, but like, man, Anthony Weaver has been dealt with so many obstacles already this year. That defense deserves better. They deserve better than what they've been given, which is just absolute drivel from the Miami Dolphins offense. You wonder how many blows can one team take. Like, they are getting Agba back this week. It sounds like Javon Holland's going to be good to go this week after he wasn't medically cleared. But man, you lose Zack Seeler, who's just been such a bedrock of this defense, and especially up front. I do worry about that. How much can they lean on Calais Campbell at his age to give you everything?
Yeah, well, you talk about, being dealt blows. How about starting the season not knowing if arguably your two best defensive players, your 2 edge rushers, are going to be healthy enough? And then, JP's healthy enough. He starts the season, and it's like this miraculous recovery for him, and then he goes out. Chop Robinson's still not back. So you're out your 2 best players getting to the quarterback, which, by the way, against Kyler Murray, that's kind of important. And now you're without your best interior defensive lineman. And yeah, like, how much can you rely on 38-year-old Calais Campbell, who's been good this year, Tobin? I mean, let's not get it twisted.
He's been great.
He's been great. He's been effing awesome to watch. But, you're looking at a situation where they had to sign Tyus Bowser off the Seattle practice squad. He's been getting minutes. You had to rely on Muhammad Kamara and your rookie Chop Robinson. Mo Kamara playing in his first game last week against Indianapolis. Chop Robinson hasn't really been like jump off the page impressive. Like there's just so many factors at play here. Now they're adding more guys from the practice squad who have been picked up. Like they're literally relying on scraps to get this done. But bro, right. Anthony Weaver, if you're looking for like a silver lining or a bright spot this year, it seems like the Dolphins finally found a competent defensive coordinator. We got the old guy out of here, the old geezer out of here who's eating tapioca throughout the week. Anthony Weaver he's good, man. I think we can all definitively say that he is a good addition to this coaching staff.
I could tell by preseason when I saw him patrolling those sidelines. He had the towel over his shoulder. I'm like, something about him. He's just got that it factor to him. He just looks like a coach who's got it all together. You know.
You like the towel? You like the towel guy? You like the coach with the towel around his shoulder?
Yeah, and I don't know if he still does it. I don't think he does it every game, but like you remember, it was August, so it was soupy out there, and so my guy was trying to keep it dry up top, but it was I think that's the thing that's been annoying Solana. It's like the offense. Yeah, I get it. You got to have your quarterback, but all the stuff they've dealt with banged up, man, it really feels like when Mike McDaniel doesn't have something, the wheels fall off. And man, the defense has been dealt so many more blows from a quantity standpoint. And I feel like every one of these games, they've pretty much given them a chance, even going back to last year with that old man. I don't get that. I don't get that. Why do they seem so much more resilient than the offense does when things go awry? I don't really understand that. The passing defense has been tremendous. I think they're ranked third in the NFL, even though they don't pick off the football very much. That's the other thing, is they've been impressive. They don't really force a lot of turnovers either.
At all. Yeah. At all.
But they've just been impressive. They've been stout. Here was Teron Armstead earlier in the week.
By the way, quickly, I think I read the Dolphins pass defense going into today is top of the league right now.
It might be.
And seriously, like put that in perspective. You don't have your two best pass rushers, because typically when your pass defense is excellent, what does that rely on? Yes, you need lockdown corners. Okay, the Dolphins have Jalen Ramsey, and bro, he's been balling this year. Okay, I know the numbers aren't gaudy, but he's been as rock solid as you can hope. What does that rely on? Like your secondary is really good, but also those guys up front are getting to the quarterback, right? Like they're making life hell for opposing quarterbacks, but you haven't had that this year. Like you've had pressure, but you don't have the sack numbers at all. And you don't have the takeaway numbers either. So it's like really, really impressive that the Dolphins defense, A, has kept this team in the game, considering the offense can't move the ball and the defense seems to always be on the field. But B, you're not getting the production from the spots in the field that usually dictate how your pass defense is going to end up looking. And regardless, they've been able to keep the Dolphins in games.
You know who has the 2 interceptions for the Dolphins this year?
One is Seeler.
Seeler and Agba.
Yeah.
Those are our 2 interceptions.
Man.
And Agba caught it with his thighs. He didn't even catch it with his hands.
And it was Will Levis too. Like, Will Levis, he gives out interceptions like he gives out Tic Tacs. It's just, like you need turnovers and you need pass rush. Why did they let Intravan Ginkle walk again? Crazy. Not a solid move there. Here's Teron Armstead. This was him discussing on Friday what happened with Zack Seeler at practice.
Yeah, no, it's a surreal thing, man, and incidental for sure. Nobody's trying to go for an eye, but you playing fast and playing low, big guys moving around. It's unfortunate for sure. Zach, one of the best players on the team, one of the best players in the league. So him dealing with that, it's definitely unfortunate for us.
Yeah,
I know it was you, Eichenberg. I know you denied it, but I know it was you.
He did clear his name, Tobin, and it was pretty funny.
Why would he need to clear his name? Why would he need to clear his name?
Because he opened up social media, even though I guess he doesn't have a social media account, but we all kind of know he does. And he's getting absolutely torched with zero proof. Like there's zero proof, but people like you start with the shenanigans.
He just did it last week. He almost poked the guy's eyes out. I saw he got penalized for it.
All I'm saying is there's no proof. Like, none of us saw the play, but everybody's like, oh, it's a stupid Liam Eichenberg again. Here we go with Ike.
If you had to guess who it was, though, like, come on. All right, we know it's probably...
Yeah, enemy number one, person number one on that list would be Liam Eichenberg. There's no doubt. But let's not act like Jordan Poyer hasn't kind of looked like he's here on behalf of Buffalo, just taking out Dolphins players. He took out Jalen Phillips this year, Tobin. Let's not forget, he took out Jalen Phillips.
He did. I don't know how he's poking the eye of a defensive tackle, but I understand what you're saying. Like, you can't trust him at this point. You can't trust him. I knew it was you, Eichenberg. I'll find out. We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. One man who's very excited this week after practice is the Cheetah. He is thrilled that Tua Tagovailoa is making his return. We'll hear a little bit from Tyreek Hill, who is bucking against his coach's words, and how much they should expect from Uno back under center. We'll take a break. More Game Day Uncensored after this.
This hurricane season, keep it on
By Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
The Dolphins are at home today for the first time since the Titans in Week 4, hoping that friendly environs will lead to a win. The Cardinals are in town. Now, we've heard a lot about Tua's return all week, and Tua talked about it, saying he wants to play and not be known as the guy with the concussions.
I'm frustrated, but this is what it is. Do I want to be known for this? No, I don't, but that's the cards I've been dealt with given the history of it, so it is what it is.
Raheem Mostert says all of Tua's teammates have been telling him to work on protecting himself.
I've been telling him, hey, you need to work on sliding. And we all joke around and laugh, but in serious note, he knows that he has to protect himself a little bit better. And, moving forward, only he can control those things, right? We can say those things to him and so we're blue in the face. But one thing that I would say, it's always my saying is, hey, you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink, right? We're going to bring Tua to that water, but we can't make him drink.
It's a big game in more ways than one today. Dolphins and Cardinals. Now, let's dig into it on Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans. Tobin, Solana, Omar, Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9, HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus Dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
All right, and welcome back in, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. We got Dolphins Cardinals coming your way later on today. 1 o'clock kickoff from Hard Rock Stadium. Tobin and Solana here with you as we get you ready for the 1 o'clock kick. Week 8 of the NFL season. They're showing Solana on the national broadcast today. ESPN showing Tua walking into the building. They got Mike McDaniel with his giant-ass coffee and his Bentley coming into the building. It's all happening for us, baby. It does feel a little skip in the step. I feel possibility again, Solana. I don't feel like I'm going to be watching a Dolphins game and it's going to feel like homework. I feel like this is going to be a game where I'm hoping exciting things happen.
Man, hey Dan, go grab Tobin some tissues because are you gonna cry like the cheetah? Are you gonna cry, Tobin, like the cheetah?
Dude, I'm excited. Come on. We haven't had big plays. And Cheetah was excited this weekend, dude.
Yeah.
He was excited.
Of course, because he doesn't have Tim Boyle. He doesn't have Tim Boyle throwing him the ball anymore. The Tim Boyle era is done. Rejoice, Dolphins fans. Rejoice.
Why was it ever an era? Why? Why would they think signing the guy who threw a touchdown to your safety? Why would they think that was a good idea? I don't understand it. Seems like a perfectly nice individual. Everybody brings up his college stats as awful as they are. I don't know how he got a gig. It's a marvel. Like it's crazy to me. How does that guy become a pro quarterback? Like Brad Kaya was a pretty decent Canes quarterback, and he's fighting Muay Thai, and Tim Boyle is somehow getting checks as a backup QB. It's very strange to me.
Yeah, Tim Boyle might be the greatest negotiator of all time or the greatest grifter of all time. I don't know. But the dude is a bona fide genius just for the sole purpose that he continues to get jobs in the NFL. He was awful in college. Awful. Like, Tobin, those stats are insane. 1 touchdown, 13 interceptions playing at UConn. Like, the fact that somebody had 1 touchdown and 13 picks but has had multiple opportunities in the NFL to be on a roster it's something to be applauded at the very least. Not our perspective, but his perspective. Like, good for him, dude. He's figured it out somehow.
The thing that was funny this week is it sounded like they never wanted Tim Boyle in the first place because it sounded like Mike McDaniel really wanted CJ Beathard. Because he's like, yeah, I called him right after he got cut by Jacksonville, but he wasn't healthy.
Oh yeah, great.
That's encouraging.
Another practice squad quarterback, so that McDaniel can figure out another quarterback who can't get Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle the damn football.
Fair point. We haven't seen, we really haven't seen anybody else be able to do it. Let's get to our keys to the game here, brought to you by Doral Hyundai at
I'm sorry, and I don't mean to interrupt the read. I know we got to get paid, but hold on a second. Like, are we now trusting Mike McDaniel's opinions on backup quarterbacks? Because the last time I checked, the guy he developed for 3 years, who's the backup today, got his opportunity and looked like butt. Absolute butt.
No, he sucked.
Skylar
He
Thompson.
sucked. Well, the thing that's more discouraging about it is he looked better as a rookie than he did this year. Like, that's the thing that's more concerning, I think. It almost makes me wonder if Skylar Thompson just like mentally pooped the bed. It's very strange. But as I was letting you guys know, the keys to the game here brought to you by Doral Hyundai. At Doral Hyundai, choose from over 1,300 new Hyundai models in inventory, like the Tucson, the Sonata, and the Palisade. Remember, when it comes to Hyundai, the great deals are at Doral Hyundai. Keys to the game, no surprise here. Get your damn star wide receivers the football. Mike McDaniel came out this week. He had a couple of ridiculous lines. He said, one, he told the team Tua is not the savior. And he also said, you don't just pick up a bike and expect to go ride the Tour de France. Well, let me tell you something, Mike. Tua basically spent 30 minutes scolding everybody about how fine he's been for the last 5 weeks. So you'll excuse me if I don't expect Lance Armstrong immediately, because this guy's been telling me he's been having secret throwing sessions for the better part of a month. Tyreek Hill was excited. This was him making fun of Mike McDaniel for saying Tua is not the savior.
Coach talking about Tua not being the savior.
Shh. Say what he want to say. Say what he want to say. But Tua is that guy. He's that deal, man. He's a big part of this team, bro. I'm going to keep saying that. Every guy in this locker room knows that. Now, obviously, when we go play a game, it's next man up. That's the mentality all day. But Tua is a part of this offense. Can nobody stop us, bro? We should score every drive. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it, bro. We got too much talent.
Man, he's excited. He's got a pep in his step this week, Solana. He was telling everybody, he's like, go ask Jalen Waddle about my practice this week. Go ask him. Now, it should be noted, both him and Jalen Waddle showed up on the injury report this week, which also not great, but, is in line with this season. But Cheetah was dealing with a foot. Jalen Waddle's dealing with a hammy or a quad or something like that. And that doesn't make me feel fantastic that these guys are going into this thing a little bit banged up.
So are you a little nervous, Tobin, that Tyreek didn't practice Friday? Or do we just chalk this up to what's the point of having him out there putting more stress on an injured foot? I don't know exactly how to feel about this, because all of a sudden he's on the injury report, and then all of a sudden he's not practicing Friday, and this is supposed to be the game. Like, you hear him there. He's basically telling everybody Mike McDaniel's full of bleep, and he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, because I know what McDaniel's doing there, right, Tobin? He's trying to temper expectations. He doesn't want everybody to think, all right, Tua's coming back, and the Dolphins are going to go out and score 42 points and get Tyreek and Waddle over 100 yards, and like, snap of the finger, Tua's back, everything's perfect again. And the reality is that probably just isn't going to play out this way. Mike McDaniel knows that. There's still a lot of things that need to be worked on. Let's not forget the one time we saw Tua this year healthy in a game. Yes, he threw for over 300 yards, but the Dolphins offense didn't exactly look great, and they only won that game because Jalen Waddle has a fist from the gods and was able to punch out a ball from Travis Etienne. So I understand, Javon Holland. I understand what Mike McDaniel's doing, but Tyreek's 100% right. Like, this guy's the savior, period. End of story. Has McDaniel not been watching the last couple weeks? It's been miserable.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anything about, he's not the savior, or the Dolphin fans shouldn't expect a good offensive performance. If you don't expect a good offensive performance this week against this defense, against this team in your building, well, then when can I expect it? Like, if this isn't the game that you can go throw up some points, that you can't get 4 tutties, that you can't mix. And by the way, in the midst of it, they found a bit of a run game that you can't put a great balanced attack, keep this team on its heels, and then throw bomb skis to your stars. If not this game, Solana, then what game? What game am I allowed to expect that? I don't want to hear that nonsense. Oh, he's not the savior. Bull bleep, he's not the savior. Get out of here. Here was more Tyreek Hill. He says, if you guys don't believe Tua is a franchise QB, go root for somebody else.
Just having Tua back will get us back, man. Like having Tua back, man. He's a big part of this team, bro. He's a franchise, dog. And anybody that doesn't see that or doesn't believe it, like go to another team. I could care less right now, man. But like I said, I missed the dude, bro. This whole team misses him, bro.
Man, look, if anybody's got me, Cheetah's got me. Cheetah will get me pulled back in and be like, you know what? I'm back. He is such a great promoter. Sometimes he's a troll and it annoys me. But when he wants to use his powers for good and not be a nuisance, nobody's better at pumping you up for football than Tyreek Hill.
I mean, you were kind of ripping this guy like 4 weeks ago. I didn't forget, Tobin. I didn't forget. It was. He's excited though because he's finally going to get targeted. He's finally going to get the ball. I mean, this is the best player in the NFL voted on by the players, and Snoop Huntley and Tim Boyle can't get him the football. Uno can. So yeah, I mean, he's thrilled, bro, and rightfully so.
It's going to be exciting. We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. We'll flip on things to the other side of the football because there are a lot of injuries on this defense and could be getting a look. Speaking of pumping up, could be getting a look at a high draft pick finally after he's spent this entire season on IR. But one of the team stars is really excited about that debut today. We'll tell you about that coming up next on Game Day Uncensored.
WQAM broadcasting live from the Ed Moore Soccer
FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day, Uncensored here. 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside Alejandro Solana. Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network. He's going to join us in about 10 minutes. We will talk to Bees, boots on the ground at Hard Rock Stadium. Dan Day, producer for us. Dan Day, you'll be able to hear on Game Day Uncensored post-game edition. What time do you guys get going today, Dan? 4 o'clock?
Yeah, 4 o'clock. No matter what, 4 to 7:30. Going to get wild.
There you go. And you want to know something? If the Dolphins win today, don't be afraid to call Dan Day celebrating today. You know, you don't only have to call to pick up the team.
Yeah.
You know,
he gets a lot of those. He gets a lot of those. I tune in a lot, and every time the Dolphins lose, I don't know, Dan, the phone lines must be lit up because you just got people calling in to rip Chris Greer nonstop, Tobin. Nonstop.
Well, look, deserved. I mean, at times deserved, but and I think as a radio show goes, it is a little bit like putting it in cruise control when you need to. When your football team loses and you're right on there after, people do want to go vent. But you know, if they win today, you know, you can feel a little good too. You know, just food for thought. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but maybe just try it on for size. Walk around the store a little bit. You know, the Miami Dolphins defense, the pass defense has been very good. Solana mentioned they have a NFL fewest 3 touchdowns given up this year. They've gone 3 games in a row without allowing a touchdown pass. Now they've taken on some really bad quarterbacks, to be fair, but it's still a low number. They've been very, very effective. And that is in the face of not being able to produce a lot of sacks this year. But it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. We've mentioned earlier, they don't have Zack Seeler today. We haven't mentioned Solana. They're not going to have Kader Kohu today, nor Storm Duck. So it appears like Cam Smith, this is your moment to step up there and do something, because Cater's had a nice season so far. Storm Duck's obviously been arguably their best rookie, right there, probably in step with Jalen Wright. But this is certainly going to be a test for their second-round pick last year, who was in the Fangs doghouse. Had a pretty good preseason when he was healthy, but then had this gnarly hamstring injury. You know, Anthony Weaver talked about his confidence that he had to kind of find, but this is definitely an interesting subplot to today's game to see, hey, is this kid going to be a contributor to the Dolphins in the future, or do we have the next Noah Igbenogany on our hands?
Look, I already have my hesitations. I know Dolphins fans aren't going to love to hear this, but I already have like my small skepticism, Tobin, about how this offense is going to look today. Because again, everybody's like, oh, Tua's back. Uno's back. It's going to go great. It's going to look like last year, first couple weeks of the season. And I'm like, I don't know. What I'm not going to do is sit here and say Cam Smith game, because man, do I need to see this on the field before I buy into it at all, man, at all. Was Fangio right? Injuries have kept him off the field even after the old geezer is gone. Like, I am not putting my eggs into the Cam Smith basket until I see it on the field. Because guess what? We did the same thing with Ethan Bonner. Jalen Waddle said nobody's been more impressive than Ethan Bonner.
Say that.
And dude hasn't done a single thing.
Can I interest you in some Jalen Ramsey? He was very high on Cam Smith this week.
Okay, all right.
This was Jalen Ramsey on Cam Smith and his potential.
Just opportunities. This is an opportunity. Cam gonna get to spin for finally. Happy for that. Happy for that moment for him. I can't wait for y'all to see what he about, because he a baller. I ain't gonna lie to you. He do some special things just like in practice. So that'll be cool.
There you go. Special things. I mean, like Jalen Ramsey, this guy doesn't give out compliments like it's nothing, Solana. I mean, you know, maybe a good veteran leader, but I feel like that is that got me a little excited about Cam Smith, Jalen Ramsey talking about him like that.
Tobin, as somebody who is known from 2 to 6 to bend the truth a little bit, trust me, when somebody says, I ain't going to lie to you, they're flat out lying, brother. All right? They are flat out lying. I mean, Jalen Ramsey knows he's telling a massive whopper right there. Come on.
Why would he have to say it? He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to go, he's doing special things in practice. Nah, you could always just say, of course he's ready for the moment. He's been preparing for this his whole life. You don't have to then go the extra step and say, oh, let me tell you something. He's been doing special things in practice. I can't wait for you guys to see what he can do.
Oh, yeah. It's been so special he hasn't gotten on the field yet. Oh, guys, it's been so special. We've been holding off on Cam Smith. That's how special he's been. Get out of here with that, man. I hope he balls. I'm not rooting against the guy, Tobin. I'm not rooting against the guy. But come on, what are we doing here? We're going to do this again? We're going to do this again with Cam Smith? Come on, let's see it on the field.
I don't feel like we're doing it again. I don't feel like we've gotten to do it. He was in the Fangs doghouse. Javon Holland hated Fangs guts. Ramsey hated Fang's guts. So I don't really know what he can do. I don't know what his potential is as a player. But
the only reason he's playing
your first. You're not excited to see your first pick from last year get a little action, baby?
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen him last year. He was your your first pick in the second round. He should have been playing. And if he was good enough to be playing, he probably would have been playing. Even though, that's up for debate. I know we're not exactly the biggest Vic Fangio fans, but hold on a second, Tobin. Correct me if I'm wrong here. The only reason Cam Smith is playing today is because of injuries. The guys in front of him are hurt, so he can't be that special. He's a backup.
Dude, you're really going at this from a not even a half glass empty. You're you barely got milk in the bottom. I refuse to be duped by this team anymore, man. I refuse to be duped. I need to see it. I need to see it on the field. A Hall of Famer is telling you that this kid is special.
I need to see it on the field, brother. I need to see it. I refuse to do this. We did it all offseason. Oh, Dolphins are going to take the next step. Oh, Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, they're going to take the next step. The Jonathan Smith package, for the love of God. And none of it happened, Tobin. None of it happened.
Little things last week.
Yeah, last week. It took 8 weeks or 7 weeks. I refuse to be duped. I want to see it on the field. And then next week, hey, Cam Smith has a good game, Tobin. Next week, Gameday Uncensored, I'll admit I was wrong, and we move forward. You crushed me for it. But until I see it on the field, nah. I'm not buying in to your second-round pick who couldn't get on the field last year and now is only playing after injury because of other injuries. Get out of here.
He was hurt too. Man. He was hurt too. That's not fair. He was hurt too. Maybe he would have won the job.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he would have gotten a little action. You don't know.
Okay. No, yeah, you're right, Tobin. He's so
you
special.
Know that, dude. That's not fair.
He's so special. He's so special. According to Jalen Ramsey, he would have won the job, except he didn't. He didn't.
Okay, but he was hurt. He was hurt. I don't understand why you're taking a poop on him already.
All right. I'm not pooping on him.
Yeah, you are, dude. You are completely dismissing Cam Smith, and Jalen Ramsey is telling you special.
Jalen Ramsey is lying. He's lying.
Okay, dude. No, we'll take a break. I need to decompress from you. We'll take a break. Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network is going to join us. We're back after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line at
AM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Let's get in our great friend Adam Beasley here from Hard Rock Stadium, from Pro Football Network. Go follow his work at Adam H. Beasley. Bees, I think you were there at the tail end of our debate there on board. A ridiculous debate, I know, on Tua's return. But should I believe that Jalen Ramsey is genuine in his praise of Cam Smith, or is he just fluffing up a young kid and we shouldn't believe a word he says?
I mean, you always got to be a little cautious about what a teammate says about a teammate. But I will say this, Jalen Ramsey was beating the drum last year to play Cam Smith, and Vic Fangio wouldn't. So it's not something that he just dreamt up in the last 7 days. I think that there is a lot of enthusiasm and optimism about how Cam can play. They've seen it on the practice field, and today we're going to see it on the football field because they are banged up at cornerback.
Well, that's my whole thing, though, Bees. It's not that Cam Smith has all of a sudden turned a corner and he's proven that he belongs on the field. Like, my thing with the Dolphins at this point is I'm tired of being duped. I'm sick of it, okay? And I need to see it on the field. I need to see the actual production before I buy into something. And to me, Cam Smith falls under that category. Like, I hope he has a good game. I texted Tobin, Cam Smith, game-clinching interception incoming after I just made a fool of myself. But I'm not denying that he has talent. I know he does, but I'm just tired of, Cam Smith, he's coming back. Like, he's playing because there's injuries. Let's not fool ourselves here.
Yeah, but he's also behind some really good players, too. So, the fact that he got hurt, I don't know what his role would have been week one. Would he have been ahead of Storm Duck? We don't know. Certainly, he could have come back the last few weeks, and they rolled with Storm Duck regardless. So that kind of tells you where their mind was at. But yeah, if you're telling me that you're a skeptical Dolphins observer because you've been burnt by false hope for 25 years, Solana, I got you. I understand where you're coming from.
So we started off today's show, Bees, talking about the Tua press conference. What'd you make of it, dude? You were there. I mean, you obviously you felt the vibes of him. I felt, it was kind of fiery, defiant, contentious a little bit. What did you make of what Tua said in his return this week?
I think he's just sick of it, to be honest. I think he's sick of being the poster child for concussions in the National Football League. And to be quite frankly, concussions in sports, because you don't see boxers, to his point, go through we had Muhammad Ali deteriorate before our eyes, and even still boxers, MMA, hockey, none of these sports have the same kind of scrutiny that football does, A, because of the concussion lawsuit and CTE and all that, and B, Tua Tagovailoa is one of the most polarizing athletes in professional sports. And so anything he does is going to generate headlines. Anything he does is going to piss people off or make them happy or whatever it is. So I understand where he's coming from. All that being said, he could have softened the edges a little bit, right? He could have given us a little bit more insight himself into why he feels comfortable returning to football, why doctors said, hey, you're not putting yourself at further risk. Privately, publicly, everyone I've talked to says that's exactly what he was told, that you have the green light to return to football. Expand on that a little bit. Tell us why you're not wearing a Guardian cap, and don't just say, hey, it's personal preference, right? There has been some chatter that maybe these Guardian caps aren't all they're cracked up to be, particularly for non-offensive or defensive linemen. Look, these things are intended to minimize the micro concussions. And that's really where the CTE comes from. If you go and dig into the science, it's the repeated blows to the head, not the knockout blows that you get in boxing and MMA and in Tua's case in football. It's the, hey, I'm going to bang my head against another person's head 65 times a day. What's going to happen? That's really where these Guardian caps can help. So if you're hitting the back of your head at full speed against the ground, or you're getting lit up, or you're lowering your shoulder into DeMar Hamlin's chest, or all these things, Guardian Cap's probably not going to help you. The best way to minimize concussions for Tua Tagovailoa is to be smarter as a football player, to get down, to slide. I know Tyreek Hill said he wants Dolphins fans to cheer for Tyreek Hill this week when he slides, like Colts fans cheered for Anthony Richardson last week. I don't think he was kidding. I think that there's people in that locker room know how bad of a football team they are when Tua goes out, and they know they have zero hope if he misses time again. Like, they've got to basically pull an inside straight at this point to make the playoffs. I think 8-3, maybe 7-4 if all breaks their way. But you kind of look now, they don't have the tiebreaker against the Bills. They don't have the tiebreaker against the Colts. They don't have the tiebreaker against the Titans, although I don't think the Titans are going to be in the conversation. But all these AFC teams they've already lost to, they got to finish ahead of. Or at the very least, the Dolphins have to beat the Bills next week, and then they can get to the second or third or fourth tiebreaker. But they really need to get hot. And for them to do that, Tua needs to be the Tua of 2022 and 2023. And I think every single player in that locker room knows that truth.
Hey, Bees, Toby and I were talking about earlier, like, if you had to kind of draw up the playbook of the McDaniel era in Miami, it's beating mediocre to bad football teams and their offense putting up points. Like, they've struggled against the really good teams, but this type of team, the Arizona Cardinals, they're not terrible, but they're not great. They're like a fringe, maybe playoff team, 3-4, coming off a victory, short week. Is this like the perfect storm here for the Dolphins offense? Because quite frankly, I mean, it didn't look great when Tua was healthy on the field for a game and a half against Buffalo and against Jacksonville week 1. Is this like the perfect opportunity, almost the perfect situation for him to return, and the offensive line seems healthy, or as healthy as it's going to be, for McDaniel's offense to get back on track here?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And if they don't, it is a huge flashing red flag, sign, signal, whatever you want to call it, because the Cardinals are maybe the worst defense in football. They're one of the 3 or 4 worst defenses in football, and they're missing 3 starters this week, right? Including Sean Murphy-Bunting. So they have some serious issues on defense. If you cannot consistently move the ball against this team, and more than that, like, they were able to move the ball last week, they just couldn't score touchdowns. To score touchdowns, not have the egregious turnover that kills you, to do all these things that we've seen for the last, whatever it is, 8 weeks. If that doesn't happen, there's going to be panic throughout that building. I think the fan base will completely turn off the rest of the season. I think if they lose today and the offense looks bad, see you in 2025, right? I think for a large chunks of the fan base, they're out. That's bad, obviously, from a business standpoint, but it's also bad for Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, who, let's be honest, I don't know if either of those jobs are completely secure for 2025 yet. Certainly Chris Greer, who's put together a roster that has clear flaws. If they go 6-11, 7-10, something like that, there's going to be consequences. And I think you're going to look at their decision for the backup quarterback situation. Guys, we haven't discussed this yet. Their quarterback depth chart now is what it was week 1, right?
Yeah.
All we've gone through, we're back where we started. Tua starting, and we're 1 hit away from Skylar Thompson being back on the field. We saw how bad that was. And these are, certainly they didn't want Snoop to get hurt, but Snoop wasn't exactly a all-pro when he was in there anyway. They had a flawed plan at backup quarterback, and it could cost them their season. And if it does, I don't know how everybody skates. I don't, because it was the most obvious thing ever. You wonder why they did it. Jimmy Garoppolo would be available this week if the Miami Dolphins had signed him for a song. I mean, the Rams got him for dirt cheap. I know he was suspended for the first 4 weeks of the season, but we're beyond that now. Right? He could have played the last couple of weeks. There will be a lot of questions if this thing goes sideways. And I think it'll be because they didn't want Tua, who was, let's just take a second and step back. When they were deciding what their backup quarterback plan was going to be, they did not know whether or not Tua was going to get his contract. And Tua's coming off a Pro Bowl year, made the playoffs, stayed healthy. They did everything right by him, and then they bring in a guy who could replace him. And Jimmy Garoppolo, I know Tua is a better player than Garoppolo, but that could be how it was perceived. I don't think they wanted that noise at all. I think they wanted to keep Tua happy. Let's get through this negotiation. Going forward, I'm sorry. I don't care about Tua's feelings. Like, you're going to be our starter next year assuming you're healthy. But we're not going to put all of our eggs in one basket anymore. We gave you, we as the Miami Dolphins organization, we gave you the massive contract that you wanted. We've given you every opportunity to stay healthy. We've got to protect ourselves. And I think that's the approach they're going to take. And I don't think Steve Ross is going to allow for anything else. And I think if Chris Grier does come back, it'll be an edict from on high. Do not let us get back in the same mess again next year.
So there was some debate this week with Mike McDaniel telling his team, hey, Tua is not the savior, which Tyreek kind of scoffed at. I think Mike McDaniel also said, hey, you don't pick up bike and ride the Tour de France. But what's fair, Bees? Like, if this guy's been throwing for 5 weeks or feeling fine for 5 weeks, is it not fair for, I mean, a little bit of rust, I guess, but like, is it not fair as fans and people covering the team? Like, is it not fair to expect the offense to start living up to their expectations? Like, what are you expecting today from him?
Here's what I think what McDaniel was trying to telegraph there. Hey, guys, look, we just got Tua back. We're not going to put him at risk. We're not going to have him throw 40 times and get ear-holed again and something bad could happen. Also, we are coming off of back-to-back weeks of 190 yards rushing, right? We finally found our identity on the ground after 3 years. This is what he said. After 3 years, it's looking like I wanted it to look like. And that's coming off the team that led the league in offense last year, right? Like he's finally getting the run game together that he wants against, as I say, a bad Cardinals defense. I think that was him kind of tacitly acknowledging we need balance. Yes, we were far too run heavy the last couple of weeks, but that was out of necessity. We couldn't throw the ball. I mean, literally, we were unable to throw the ball in a lot of situations. There were guys open. We couldn't do it. But we're not going to say, oh, Tua's back, we're going to be the greatest show on turf, right? No, we're going to have balance. We're going to run the football. And to me, it's a smart approach because you look at what that offense was early in the season, and it was way too reliant on Tua throwing the football. Way too reliant. Teams knew how to beat them. You play this cover two, too deep, whatever you want to say. There's going to be lanes open to run the football. They have to take advantage of it. And I think that's McDaniel acknowledging we're still going to be a running team. We just have a much better quarterback now. When there are throws, he's going to be able to make them.
Hey, speaking of that, Bees, how should we view the Dolphins running back depth chart? Like if you had to rank them in order, because coming in, I still think we all felt like Raheem Mostert, after the season he had last year, like rightfully so, was RB1. And then obviously Devon Achane, like you can play him in the slot. He can catch passes. He's electrifying. But then, the rookie has looked pretty good in Jalen Wright as well. At times, he's looked like the better running back than Mostert. Fumbled the ball last week. Like, I wonder going into today, after what you just said and what McDaniel said, what is the order there if you had to list it?
Yeah, I think it always comes down to trust. And certainly, you're going to lose trust if you fumble the football at a key time. But Mostert still knows this offense better than anyone. And I think if you're looking at a pure talent, 31-year-old Raheem Mostert, or maybe might be 32 now, and rookie Jalen Wright, big burly guy, bowling ball, and who can also have some speed. At this point, Wright's probably the better talent. Does that make him the better player? And so we don't know. And I think they are wise to use him in packages. I think the package could be bigger. I think 5 carries was small. What do they have? 40+ runs and only 5 for Jalen Wright. Let's have a little bit more equity there. And I do think you do have to guard against both Mostert and Achane wearing down. Those guys do get hurt. Achane, I think, had 2 or 3 different injuries last year. Mostert has a career of injuries. So we will probably see more of Jalen Wright as it goes, but it's not going to be – I could be wrong. You could be laughing at me in 2 hours when, it's the Jalen Wright show. But I don't think they're going to get away from Raheem Mostert completely. I think there will be more of a mix, though.
What was your reaction to Zack Seeler getting his eye gouged out, and how big a loss is this, Bees?
I mean, terrible. It's awful. I mean, it's awful visual that I think, what did Cam Wolf say? He got his orbital broken, which is, it's brutal. But he was the Iron Man at this defense, right? I mean, he was, let's not kid ourselves. He was maybe the better of the 2 defensive tackles last year. And Wilkins was great. And Calais Campbell and Jalen Ramsey are the 3 indispensable pieces of that defense. Like those 3 guys make that defense go. And you're going to be without one of them this week against a pretty good, not a great, but a pretty good Cardinals offense. And look, James Conner is a hammer. Like that guy, You watch him run. I was watching some of that game again. It was the Chargers last week, and he is a physical runner. It's going to be tough. Like it's weird because the defense has kind of kept the Dolphins in the game, but you're going to need to score points to win this week because you're down 2 of your top corners and your best defensive tackle. And you're going up against a better offense than they have in the last couple of weeks. The Cardinals are a better offense than an Anthony Richardson-led Colts, and certainly better than the Patriots. So, yeah, it's not great. They lost Seeler. We've got to hope that it's not. I think the fact that they didn't IR him yesterday suggests that he didn't have surgery, and that can kind of, I guess, a glimmer of hope. But you're going to see him in the, was the Rip Hamilton mask. I'm sure he's going to have the visor on when he comes back. Like, a broken orbital is no joke, guys. Like,
do we have any time? Like, have you ever heard of this? I don't know what. Like, I see you say. Like, I see it in basketball all the time, and you know what they do. But in football, like, especially he's in the trenches. Like, I don't know what the recovery of that is. How do you, when do you assess it's cool for him to go out there?
You're asking the wrong dude. I mean, I have not. Like, it was such a weird, shocking development on Friday. I haven't talked to any doctors about it since, but how long does a broken bone take to heal? And that's in your face. So literally in your face. I would not want to be Zack Seeler in the first game back if that thing isn't totally healed, because it's going to hurt like crazy.
Hey, Bees, speaking of the defense and Zack Seeler, you just mentioned like the defense has actually kept them in games. Can we say definitively now that Anthony Weaver was the right pick at defensive coordinator? If we're ranking like coaches right now, I think Crossman and the special teams is like way down. And then, McDaniel hasn't looked great this year. Bees, let's be honest, he hasn't looked great. Like it's Weaver 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, whatever you want to do. And then everybody else right now for the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, I wrote that last week too. We're of the same mind, Solana, that he has been their best coach.
I stole it from you, Bees. I stole. I read Pro Football Network. I stole it from you.
I'll take it. The clicks are clicks, and you can take any of my ideas as long as they're the good ones. The bad ones, they were never mine. But no, you see why he was head coaching candidate last cycle. You see why he's going to be a candidate again this cycle. And I think if things go completely sideways here, he'd probably be a candidate here. Like if you're Steve Ross, and again, they just invested a lot of money in Mike McDaniel. He is the first coach since Wannstedt to go back-to-back playoffs. Let's not close the book on Mike McDaniel by any stretch of the imagination. But if they don't get this offense figured out, and it's late December, early January, and you're thinking, I'm going to lose one of those two. Who would I rather lose? That might be a conversation they have. Like, who would you feel more comfortable going forward with? If you're going to lose one of those two dudes, he might be pressed to a decision. And I think that I don't think it's likely, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that there is a switch after the year.
Adam Beasley, go follow his work. Pro Football Network. Always a pleasure having you on, Bees. Enjoy the game.
All right, guys.
There you go. We'll take a break. More Game Day Uncensored after this.
This hurricane season, keep it on AM
To Miami, WKIS HD2 Boca Raton, an Odyssey sports station.
Powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
Well, the Dolphins are back home today, hosting the Arizona Cardinals. But Arizona's not going to make it easy, and the Finns need a win. A lot of Tua talk this week, a lot of questions about his health and the risk he's taking by playing again.
Everything, I think, takes risk. To answer that question, every time we all suit up, we're all taking a risk that we could potentially get hurt, whether it's a concussion, a broken bone, anything. You get up off of the bed the wrong way, you potentially could risk you spraining your ankle. There's just risk in any and everything, and I'm willing to play the odds. That's it.
Tyreek Hill is ready for Tua to be back in the lineup.
Having Tua back will get us back, man. Like, having Tua back, man. He's a big part of this team, bro. He's a franchise, dog. And anybody that doesn't see that or doesn't believe it, like, go to another team. I could care less right now, man. But like I said, I miss the dude, bro. This whole team misses him, bro.
Well, we shall see, and we certainly hope for the best. Dolphins, Cardinals. Kickoff not too far away, and we'll get into it all. Time for Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans. Tobin and Solana with Omar and Beasley on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Edmore's has your back. Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. Edmore's is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored. Hour 3 of our coverage here as we lead up to Dolphins and Cardinals. We're streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, the channel Miami 560 WQAM. You guys can check us out there. Get in on the chat. Very active chat today. Very active chat. Very people, either very optimistic or being rat bastards today. And listen, I judge neither. I appreciate you all tuning in, but I just noticed I don't know. I don't know what it is, Solana. I think everybody's maybe a little bit hungover after yesterday's sports haze because it was so busy. Been a great weekend of Miami sports, by the by. A great weekend of Miami sports. We've had the Pinks. We've had Inter Miami going up on Atlanta. We've had the Panthers yesterday scored 6 unanswered goals after going up 3-0. The Heat got in the win column. They're, of course, unveiling D-Wade's statue later on today. And then the Canes go to 8-0. And it really wasn't the Cam Ward show yesterday, although they did end with a pretty awesome touchdown pass to Cam Ward to put the dagger in FSU.
Yeah, I tweeted yesterday, Inter Miami playoff dub over Atlanta, check. Hurricanes dominate FSU, Tobin, that's a check. Heat beat the Hornets, first win of the season, check. Panthers beat the Islanders, 6 unanswered goals. Matthew Tkachuk gets a dicey one, check. All we're missing is a Dolphins victory today. No way they let us down, right? Right, Tobin? No way they let us down.
I feel good. Like I told you last week, here's the thing. The last couple of weeks, especially last week, I was like, I'm not sure about the Colts game. I was not sure about the Colts game. Now, they should have won, but they're a bad team, and they have found ways to lose. I feel really good about today, Solana. I really, really do. I think getting, hearing your 2-star wide receivers feel the way that they feel, especially Cheetah, getting Tua back. And as Bees mentioned, as we talked about in the matchups, I feel like this is a game that is set up for them to put up points. If they don't, man, I think it is time to throw dirt on the season. I really do. Like, start looking at the trade deadline, start looking at who could get sold off for scraps on this team. But, this matchup in particular, I feel pretty good about with the Miami Dolphins, which will lead us into our player to watch, which are the star wide receivers. That's brought to you by the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Tyreek Hill essentially calling his shot this week, had a message for his fantasy players out there. here was Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek, what would you tell people who have you in fantasy who might be a little frustrated from the first 6 games?
Tell them last question.
We're back, baby. Strike up, band. We're back, baby. Start me this week, baby. Let's go.
Wow.
Last question.
That's what I'm talking about, Solana. That's Goosey's right there, dude.
Yeah.
Let's get going.
Yeah.
First
I mean,
play,
he's
bomb
desperate.
Cheetah.
He's desperate, man.
I'm desperate. He's desperate. I'm desperate. Forget it. What about me? He got a raise this year. This is just strictly for my entertainment, and I've been so bored.
Yeah, it's been awful. Every Sunday, it's been awful. It's like you're just, are they gonna? No. Oh, no. The whole time you're just like, could this be the drive? We've gotten what, Tobin? 2 good drives over the past 5 weeks. 2. One against the Patriots, led by Alec Ingold, and then first drive against Tennessee. First drive against Indianapolis, Jonnu Smith catching a touchdown. And that's it. That's all you've gotten in 5 weeks of football. So, like, I get it, man. You're desperate. But I think, you're saying the chat is kind of split right now, a little divisive on what the expectations are for today. And I think it perfectly resembles our show right now because you're kind of in this boat where you're saying, okay, things are back to normal today.
Yeah.
And I'm just not fully there yet. I'm not saying, look, this is gonna look a lot better, Tobin, than it did the last 4 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, but were you scarred from last week? Because last week you were much more optimistic, oddly, going into a Colts game that they didn't have Tua than you are this week where they have Tua. And I find that strange.
No. I don't think I was more optimistic last week. I was just giving McDaniel the benefit of the doubt, saying, okay, you've had Tyler Huntley now for the 3rd game with a bye week. If you're the coach that we all think you are, well, you're probably going to figure out a way to move the football. And after the first drive, I'm like, all right, I'm glad I gave Mike McDaniel the benefit of the doubt. And then once again, it turned into what we saw in Seattle, and it turned into what we saw against Tennessee on Monday Night Football, and it turned into the entire Patriots game -1 drive, which was they can't figure out how to move the football. And Mike McDaniel, the offensive guru, I stripped him of that title, and I was proven right again in Indianapolis. I'm not saying that this team or that I have no confidence in this team. I'm happy Tua's back. I think the offense is going to look much better. I think everybody's clearly thrilled about Tua being back, as they should be. But I'm just not ready to say, okay, the switch has been flipped. Tua's back in the lineup. Here we go. It's going to look how it did last year against Denver, or it's going to look last year how it looked against New England or the Jets every time you played them. I'm not there yet because I still think what we saw week 1 against Jacksonville was a grind fest. It didn't look pretty. What we saw week 2 in the quarter or the half and half of the third quarter from Tua was anything but pretty. Maybe the worst game he's ever played. And now he's been out 5 weeks. He's only practiced 3 times, Tobin, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And this quote unquote practice, I mean, the fact that Zack Seeler had his orbital bone fractured is crazy because nobody was getting anywhere near Tua Tagovailoa on that field. I mean, the dude might as well have been in a bubble suit. So, like, the idea that all of a sudden, Tua's back, everything's going to be perfect. I hope so, man. I'm just skeptical of that being the case. I think, there's going to be kind of this adjustment period where he's back under center. Does he have to shake off any skeletons? Any minor PTSD from the last time he was on the field? Like, all these factors to me come into play here where it might take a half of football for the offense to look good again. And will that be too late against, as Bees mentioned, a good offense who can move the football?
Right. Like, you can't have your patented, like, Tua can throw some real stinker interceptions. You can't have that patent stuff because, like, honestly, if we've looked over the last few weeks, while the games have been boring, the thing that has been killing them is that there is a back-breaking turnover at some point that's just lurking around the corner. And you just can't afford that. Like, the margin for error with this team, it's not like, I know it goes down a level, but like with the Miami Hurricanes, Cam Ward can throw a willy-nilly interception every now and then. He's going to put up 50 points or 35 points or whatever. This team, if you do that when it's so hard to produce points anyway, it's a killer. So I think you're hopeful that Tua back, opens up the margin for error there a little bit more. but also they just got to play clean football. That has been the thing that's been disappointing. No Tua, every single time you think that something's rolling, you can never really trust it all the way because boom, there's a critical error to ruin everything. And that has to get fixed no matter what. Like and I don't know what's been going on there because these are some of the people you would think are reliable, but Raheem Mostert's won the goat horns on it. Alec Ingold, Tyreek Hill was responsible for an awful turnover. Special teams, I mean, why can't I expect that to get better? I mean, they sucks. It's been sucking. But those guys, you can't have your stars and your leaders make critical errors like that and ruin drives.
They've also been undisciplined, right, Tobin? I mean, whether it's Julian Hill, what do you say, the moose hands from him, holding penalties, or the rhinoceros hands. It seems like, how many drives start with 1st and 10, but that screen pass that went for 6 yards to make it 2nd and 4. Never mind, bring it back. Now it's 1st and 17, 1st and 18. You're in the red zone and, you take a bad sack. Or there's just been a lot of undisciplined football from the Dolphins as well. And yeah, Tua being back is great. The timing is important. We know how much goes into the offense. He knows it better than anybody. But is it going to click right off the bat? I don't know. I'm skeptical about it.
Dolphins are going to have a pretty cool honor during today's game as well. We'll tell you a little bit about that as Gameday Uncensored rolls on after this.
WQAM broadcast.
AM 560 Sports, WQAM. FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's game day, uncensored here. 560 WQAM, streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, Miami 560 WQAM, and on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. A little national NFL news, Solana. T. Higgins, for those fantasy players out there, he is inactive today. He has a quad injury. There was a lot of watch around him today, and whether or not the Bengals wide receiver was going to play, he will not. We will have the Dolphins' full list of inactives coming on up. But it is expected the Dolphins are going to get back, though they will not have Zack Seeler. And it seems like they're not going to have Storm Duck and Kader Kohu. Kader Kohu, I believe, already been ruled out. Storm Duck, I think, is doubtful. They are going to get Javon Holland back. He says he wasn't medically cleared last week, but he's on track to play this week with the club. Worried at all about what he can bring, or thankful that he's just giving it a go, Solana?
Yeah, I'm just thankful he's giving it a go. At this point, Tobin, our conversation with Bees, everything we just talked about in the last segment as well. Like, there's so much riding on this game, man. So, look, I know, you want guys healthy, obviously, but there's no later if you don't get it done today. So if you can go, I think you have to try to go. That goes from, the Hollands to some of the guys on the offensive and defensive line as well. Like, if you can suit up today, this team needs you.
For sure. It is a big one. There's no doubt about that. Emmanuel Ogbah also seems like he's going to be back. He was dealing with a bicep injury last week.
Yeah.
If you guys missed it this week, Braxton Berrios, he's done for the year. He went on IR. That's why Cam Smith is back on the roster. So there was a lot of roster shuffling this week. Skylar Thompson is back. He's a full go. We will get inactives coming up in about probably like 7 minutes or so. In the meanwhile, Miami Dolphins are giving out a very cool honor, a rare honor today. They are putting Tim Bowens in the Ring of Honor today, Solana. The Miami Dolphins defensive menace. He is being honored today. He will go up there next to his guy. Well, I don't know where the location is, but he's going to go up there with his guy, Zach Thomas. This was Zach Thomas earlier this summer when he let everybody know that Tim Bowens was going to receive this honor.
Well, I'll make this short, but this ain't about me. I'm going to introduce to you a guy that was the ultimate teammate, one that was unselfish, made everybody around him better, made JT better, Sam and Pat, myself, and never complained, country strong, never lost ground. And I'm going to introduce you, give a warm welcome to Tim Badass Bowens.
Wow. Zach Thomas loves Tim Bowens. I mean, he really does. And I think any of, those two stars, Hall of Famers now, and Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas probably both tell you that they're not there without Tim Bowens. I believe he was mentioned in both their Hall of Fame speeches. But the reaction that you have, Solana, that Tim Bowens going up there today against the Arizona Cardinals.
So we hear those comments there, and we know ZT loves himself some Timbo, but I can only speak from what I've heard from Channing Crowder doing the show with him, and when this got announced in prior to the season starting, I remember Channing got into like what Tim Bowens meant to that locker room. And we always we use culture a lot, especially down here in South Florida, Tobin, with the Miami Heat. And it's like one of the most overused terms. And I'm not saying that Tim Bowens established the identity of the Miami Dolphins, but like when you think back to those early teams, the early 2000s, and you think of like Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor, he kind of did like this just physical type of defense that was going to keep the Dolphins in every game. And the dude was just, he was a monster, bro, an absolute monster. So it's cool. And there's a couple other guys who deserve to be in the Ring of Honor, but he definitely deserves to have his day today.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was always curious, like, who was going to be the next person to go into the Ring of Honor, because I almost felt like, well, that era, I would have felt like it would have been done already. It's always interesting to see when guys and when teams decide to do this, but I would have thought like Sam or Pat Surtain would have been like one of those duos where they would have gone up together, that they would have been honored. But it is pretty cool that the unsung hero of it all and the anchor of it all gets to go up there, because hey, you don't think about that a lot. Like, it's one of these things where it's like, you know, they get to make the flash plays, they get to make the fun plays, but you do have to be anchored by a behemoth like this. And so it is awesome that the Dolphins are doing this for him.
So I didn't know, by the way, Tobin. Look, he was drafted in '94. I was born in 1994. He was drafted before I was born to the Dolphins. So, like, you know, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch Tim Bowens the first 6-7 years of his career. What I remember is like 01, 02, 03, truthfully. But I was reading a synopsis earlier this week on Tim Bowens, just kind of like reflecting on his time with the Dolphins. And something I didn't know was that when he was drafted, no surprise here, people thought it was a bad pick. And dude ended up winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, according to the AP. So, like, that's a cool-ass story in itself, where there was a bunch of people who criticized the pick, thought the Dolphins should have gone with an offensive player instead. And right out of the gate, dude's a Rookie of the Year and ends up playing 11 years only for the Miami Dolphins. We think of these like Dolphin lifers, right, Tobin, as Zonka and Greasy and Marino, guys from the 72 team. And I know that the success wasn't the same for a lot of the guys in the late 90s and into the 2000s, but there's some Dolphins lifers who deserve their flowers as well from that era. And it's cool that finally the organization is giving it to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things that's always funny when you look back on the history of this franchise, because, yes, they're known as the franchise that has the perfect season and how they had everything that there was to have. Then you go through the years where they had Marino, and Marino just never had the defense. And then you had this defense, which was probably a Super Bowl defense, but never had the offense. Yeah. You know, just never could bring that harmony together. So it's unfortunate, but it is cool that these guys get the love that they are getting. Tim Bowens was asked at his press conference back in August about his secret to being so durable. Here was Tim Bowens.
If my math is right, I think you only missed 2 games in your first 9 years. Right. How are you able to maintain that level of durability at such a high contact position?
A lot of beer. I really can't say. I mean, just good genes, I guess. The Almighty just blessed me to stay healthy, and it hurt me when I missed those my last year. I mean, I really feel like I just let the team down. So, but those 2 games that I missed, I mean, it's just me being me, and then I can't say what it was.
Man, that's Goosey's right there.
Yeah, man,
that's good.
He just sounds like a badass, right? He still sounds like a badass.
Yeah, he does sound like a badass. Is he in your top 3 all-time Dolphins badasses?
So you gave me a tip that we were going to do this, and I wanted to establish something here. Can we do top 3 other than Timbo? Like, can we? Because, I mean, he's up there, right? Like, I'm going to give you 3 other people, and I don't know if he's in your top 3, Tobin, but I kind of wanted to establish these parameters here because it seems a little unfair to keep him off the list today of all days. He's like 100%.
He may be atop the list. He may be. I think the list is based off of him, so he gets the honor.
Correct.
Of numero uno.
Yeah. So you want me to go here, Tobin? I got my list. I got my list together. I did a little bit of research for this one. I'm going to start with Brian Cox. Okay. Anyone who flips the double middle fingers to the Buffalo crowd gets put on any list of Dolphins players, whatever the hell you want to make a list of. Put his ass on the list. All right, dude is goated for that. Led the team in tackles, forced fumbles multiple times. He had a 14-sack season in aqua and orange. Dude should be in the Dolphins Ring of Honor as well, if we're being 100% honest. So that's my number 1. Ricky Williams is my number 2.
Really?
Stick with me here, because I know immediately people are going to go, I mean, the dude quit football because he wanted to smoke weed. And I get it, okay? But Tobin, tell me what's more badass than in 02-03, they trade for him. They make him the focal point of the offense, and they handed the ball off to him 10,000 times per game, and Ricky just kept running. And he just kept running. And he pounded the mother effing football time and time again. And then he came back a couple of years later after a brief stint with the Argonauts and some more failed drug tests, I know. And I have some pretty good memories of the second stint of Ricky Williams as well. So
I love Ricky Williams. You'll never get an argument from me with Ricky Williams.
I love Ricky, and I know we don't think of him as like tough, mean, or whatever, but the way he ran the football, that's like my earliest memories of Dolphins football. Ricky Williams with the dreadlocks, just getting those things tugged on, and it didn't matter. He kept moving the sticks time and time again. So I'm putting Ricky Williams up there as well.
Love it.
And then my number 3 might be a little controversial because I'm on the record as saying I didn't watch this man play that much, but I'll throw you another curveball. How about Danny Marino, number 13?
Wow.
Because every highlight I watch of Dan Marino, every single highlight, and I wanted to put Cam Wake on this list because I just think the dude's
Cam Wake was on my list.
Right. I figured. So I wanted to go a little out of the box, Tobin. Cam Wake is the most diesel mother bleeper I've ever seen in my entire life. And Crowder told me his like diet regimen, and it's just stupid what this guy did to maintain his career coming from the CFL. But every highlight I watch of Dan Marino, every single one, and I watched a lot. I mean, he's standing in the pocket and he's getting lit up every single play, it felt like, but he's still throwing the most pinpoint dime ski to his receivers, whoever it was, whether it was the Duper brothers or the Marks brothers, whoever the hell he was throwing it to, even big head Joe Rose catching a touchdown. Like he was throwing the perfect dime every time. It's literally crazy while getting lit up every single time, got right back up and kept throwing it. So I know it's a little unorthodox to put a running back and a quarterback in this list, but to me, those guys deserve to be on the most badass list of Dolphins players of all time.
Yeah, like I didn't go. I put Cam on there, and then I was like, I'm going to put Zach on there, but then like this is becoming too. This is just best Dolphins list.
Right.
So I went Cam Wake, then I went Zonk. Mostly because of his tweets. I love Zonk's tweets. By the way, I see that he's going down to the game with Bernie Kosar today, which is just goosies galore. I mean, that's the. But
what do you think's happening in that suite?
I don't know. Fun.
Some good tweets are coming our way today.
And then finally, Lusaka Polite.
Yeah,
Lusaka Polite deserves to be on the list.
Yeah.
Never. He would never fumble Alec Ingold. And if you need a fourth down, he wouldn't just do it for 1 week. Alec Ingold.
Shame on us. Shame on us for even dubbing Alec Ingold, who I love, by the way, Lusaka Polite 2.0. Because as good as Alec is, he's not Lusaka Polite 2.0.
Do you think that Cam Wake is the next? Okay, so if we go next guy to go into the Ring of Honor, it goes Pat, Sam Madison, Pat Surtain, Sam Madison, Cam Wake. I always think Xavier Howard deserves to be in there too, but a lot of people are like, he doesn't get in the club till the other two get in the club, which I think is a fair criticism, but I think he has a Ring of Honor worthy career. Is there anybody I'm missing, Solana, or do you think those are the candidates? And who do you think deserves to be up there the most?
Man. Yeah, I mean, I think Cam is a no-brainer, just like a no-brainer. Don't the Dolphins have, because they put Sam Madison on it's like the Dolphins.
They got like a walk of, they got like a walk of fame, which is like the bootleg Hall of Fame. I'm talking about like the Hall of Fame is the Ring of Honor.
But when you put somebody out on the walk of fame, so it's like this pathway to the stadium where different players are honored. Does that indicate that those guys are being honored outside but not inside, which is a weird situation? So they're not going to make it? Are they not making it?
I don't know if Tim Bowens is on that list either, so I don't know. I have to go look and see who's on it. Actually, I don't know who's on the Walk of Fame. I'd have to go look and examine.
I think Sam Madison was put on that this past summer. I think. I think it's Cam, bro. I think that's the only guy. I mean, Tua's going to get it at some point. Tyreek Hill. I think. You don't think so?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Man, I mean, what happened here? You're Uno's
I
number
love
one fan.
Tua. I don't know
I'm
if he's
getting.
Ring of
I'm,
Honor. I love
I'm
Tua
getting
to
crushed.
death. I don't know if he's Ring of Honor worthy yet. I think that's a little strong.
I'm getting absolutely crushed because I don't think the dude's going to throw for 400 yards today. I'm the crazy one, but
I
all of a
root
sudden,
for Tua. You're talking about giving him the highest honor of all time. Like it's like I love Bam Adebayo. I'm not saying he deserves a statue next to D Wade yet. Like he got all mad at me when we had him on this summer, and he goes, "How come you don't have any?" And I'm like, D Wade's pretty good. Sorry, like you're not there yet. You're not on the wall. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like Tua has been the best quarterback since Dan Marino after a lengthy list of QBs.
That's the bar, though. Like look who we had to jump over.
Hold on a second. Are we not the organization that hasn't won a playoff game in 24 years, about to be 25?
Well,
are we not that organization?
You got to win a playoff game before I can even consider this.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. You're right.
A ridiculous
You're
statement.
Right. You're right.
The Ring of Honor.
Cam Wake. Then I guess that's the only other one that I can point to, unless you want to throw Brian Cox in there. Cam Wake to me is an absolute no-brainer. If the Dolphins didn't get that done, it would be a shanda.
Take a break. We got our actives. We'll give you that and our reaction to it. Omar Kelly coming at the top of next hour. Back after this.
Text WQAM
AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus Dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back in, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside Alejandro Solana. Dan Day producing this program here. You can hear him coming up at 4 o'clock today with Game Day Uncensored post-game edition as we got Dolphins and Cardinals week 8 of the NFL season. Let's get to our actives and inactives brought to you by JM Lexus in South Florida. When you think football, you think Miami Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes. But when you think Lexus, think JM Lexus. Well, right now, we've got it all for fall. Here's the list, Solana, of who is inactive today for the Miami Dolphins. Not a ton of surprises here. We knew already about Zack Seeler being out. The 2 cornerbacks, we were aware, Kader Kohu, Storm Duck, we're going to miss this game. Tanner Connor, he is inactive, so you're not going to see any of number 80 out there. Andrew Myers is inactive basically all season. Jeff Wilson still dealing with that injury. And also, Jalen Wright seems like he's kind of taking the reins on that third running back spot. And then Mo Kamara back inactive after making his debut last week. So Kamara is going to be out yet again. Anything that jumps out the page to you?
Not really. So Skylar Thompson's your backup quarterback, Tobin. I think
Skylar
that's worth noting. Right.
Yep. Only 2 QBs are active today.
Correct. So in order to have that emergency quarterback, he's got to be on the 53-man. Dolphins needed every roster spot available today to elevate Tua Tagovailoa off IR. So and considering all the injuries, so hopefully, knock on wood, Tua plays the entire game. Right. I mean, I'm expecting it, and we don't have to see Skylar Thompson. Outside of that, though, no. I mean, kind of a bummer that Storm Duck can't suit up today, Tobin. Especially without Kader Kohu. I know we debated Cam Smith earlier, but at least Storm Duck, he's shown you some stuff this season where you feel good enough about him going out, and he was doubtful. So that to me is kind of the biggest bummer outside of Zack Seeler, which that just sucks overall. But we knew back to Friday he wasn't going to be active.
Yeah, that was certainly one of those things where you're just like, I can't believe the way the season's going right now.
Crazy.
For the fantasy players out there, you can notice I did not mention Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. Those guys were both on the injury report, but they are going to be active and seemingly good to go today. I mean, what their workload is going to be with a foot and a quad injury, that is to be determined, but they are out there. And I imagine with Uno being back that they're going to try and get the football to their stars, because they've been nothing but decoys for the last few weeks, and I think they are ready to get out there and run. Speaking of running, Solana, we heard this in some of our opens today, but the Dolphins in the locker room are very, very keen on Tua learning to slide. And I'm curious for you because, we talked a lot about Tua in this pregame show, and we'll talk a little bit more. Omar Kelly's going to join us at the top of next hour, but you don't want him to run at all, right? I mean, I was against this idea the entire season. I hated the idea that Tua was going to lose weight and become more mobile. I want him safe in the pocket and doing hedgehog rolls to keep away from head injuries, but are you going to be nervous if he goes out there and tries to run, or do you want him to just let plays die?
Well, I'm nervous regardless if he's running or not, Tobin. I just am. And I know, we heard from Tua and he's upset that people feel this way, and I'm sorry, but I've seen what I've seen. So I'm nervous about the entire situation. With that being said, at some point as a quarterback, Tobin, you got to make plays. You got to get out of the pocket, and you got to go get that first down. I understand your perspective, which is just get down, live to fight another day, you punt the football. But I also know how Tua's built. I also know how football players are built. They're out there. They're suited up. They got a helmet on. They feel invincible. So I'm with you. If it's, 1st and 10 and your tackle gets beat, you go down. No big deal. But if it's 3rd and 3 in the fourth quarter, you're down a score on your own 33, and there's an opening for you to go pick up 5 or 6 yards and slide and get down, I think your quarterback has to be able to make that play and has to be able to take advantage of that situation. And I think Tua, Tobin, I was going to save this for our prop segment later, Porpoise props. I think Tua, well, it's not available yet. I'm waiting. I think Tua wants to show to everybody, hey, I'm fine, bro. You heard him the other day. You heard him. He wants to show everybody, hey, I'm fine. I don't think he's going to go head first or shoulder first into another player. I think he's trying to avoid contact, Tobin, but that pocket opens up. He can get 5 or 6 yards and get down comfortably. I think Tua Tagovailoa will do that today to show to everybody, hey, settle the F down. I'm fine.
Okay. One, he doesn't have to show me that. What he needs to show me is bombs to his wide receivers. I don't give a rat's ass if he can run 4 yards. This was my whole point the entire season when people were telling me that he was losing weight to be more mobile and extend plays, and he stopped taking jujitsu. And what happened when he stopped taking jujitsu? Chaos. That's what happened. He should have been spending this entire time that he was on his Peloton. He should have been staying on the mat, and so he could have kept himself safe, because running got us into this situation in the first place. Him extending unnecessary plays is what got him into it is.
Well, it is. But he got hit in the backfield last time. He got hit in the backfield in Cincy.
But he was trying to make things happen.
He was. He should have thrown that ball away. I'm with you. But he did get hit in the backfield.
Every time Nick Saban has said this, every time he gets hurt, he's trying to extend a dead play. Every time. Now, this one, it was a dead game, and for whatever reason, he's like, I got to show my guys, and enough, dude. It's time to grow up, and some things you're just not meant to do. And you want to know something? This kid was given a gift to sit in the pocket and zing BBs all over the place. He wasn't given the gift of swift feet. It's okay. It's okay. I don't understand this need. Some people aren't built for that. It's like Hassan Whiteside when he wanted to shoot threes. He's like, there's a difference between not being able to shoot threes and not being allowed. No, you just didn't get it. It's okay. You're great at blocking shots and dunking. That's what you're great at. Be good at what you're great at. And I don't understand these enablers around him. You have these kook trainers who, like John Beck, who's probably out there. When did John Beck ever run? And John Beck's probably like, you should learn to. No, enough. He has his gift. Be good at your gift.
But Tobin, you're telling a professional athlete who excels at pretty much everything he's done
he doesn't
get to this point, right? But tell him that. He's not going to believe you. Oh, I can't run? You're going to tell me I can't run?
He can't run.
They're the most competitive people on the planet. Of course they can run.
This is the only game. Everybody always goes to this rookie year, him against Kyler Murray. They show me these 30 yards that
Arizona.
He ran for.
Yeah,
he was Michael frickin' Vick.
And he didn't just run. Lowered the shoulder, picked up some extra yards as well. Yeah, Tobin, don't forget about that. I'm not telling you I want Tua to run and take hits. Don't get this twisted, okay? That's not what I'm asking for. I'm telling you that as a quarterback, as a good quarterback, an above average quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa understands that in the course of a game that has a lot riding on it today, I might add, there's going to be a situation probably where the pocket opens up and you can skimper right through, get a couple of yards, you go down comfortably, a little baseball slide, not like Shohei Ohtani's ass last night, dislocating your shoulder, but a nice little feet first slide. Nobody touches you. You get back up. You go to the huddle. That's football, Tobin. Come on. You're telling me that you don't want to see that from Tua Tagovailoa?
Not his football. No, I do not. His coach doesn't want to see it. His teammates don't want to see it. If he does it, let me tell you something right now. If he does it, selfish. He's a selfish guy.
Hold on a second. Let me get this straight. Let me wrap my head around your thought process here. Tua tells you he feels okay. He's at Disney on Ice the day after the concussion. You believe him. I do as well. He tells you, everybody else treats me differently. You agree with that. He tells you he's fine. You agree. You believe him. We're all happy to see him on the field.
Right.
But now You don't want him to go play football? You want him to play a different brand of
football? I didn't want him to do this with a year clear of concussions. I didn't want him to run. He's not good at it. He stinks at it. He's not fast. He's not elusive. And he's not durable. What's positive that's coming out of this? 4 yards? You know how easily Tua can get you a 4-yard completion? Probably could do it blindfolded.
Couldn't last year against Tennessee, and he couldn't do it against Baltimore, and he couldn't do it against Buffalo in the second half, Tobin.
Great. So the answer to that is to have him go out there and scoot down the field. Yeah,
no, I'm just saying what happened. What happened against Buffalo week 2? What happened against Kansas City in the postseason, Tobin? What happened?
I'll tell you what happened. We had somebody named Grant DeBose out there catching passes, and it bounced off his chest. And Robbie Chosen, who for some reason they keep bringing back, and yet he doesn't know the route tree. Whoops. Ridiculous. Omar Kelly, Miami Herald, Miami Dolphins columnist. He joins us next.
This hurricane season,
and so we're blue in the face. But one thing I would say, it's always my saying is, hey, you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink, right? We're going to bring Tua to that water, but we can't make him drink.
It's a big game in more ways than one today. Dolphins and Cardinals. Now, let's dig into it on Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans. Tobin, Solana, Omar, Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9, HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
All right, and welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Tobin and Solana here with you as we get you ready for Week 8 of the NFL season. Miami Dolphins, Arizona Cardinals. Let us talk to our guy, Omar Kelly, Miami Dolphins columnist from the Miami Herald. Omar, how's it going, man?
I'm good. I'm here. Watch Tua work out. He's still alive. We'll see if we can continue that trend to the end of the game and end of the week, end of the season.
Listen, he was very biting this week. He's like, like, Tua, you didn't have to say to the death of me. Like, you could have gone like any other.
Nope.
You can say what you want to say without saying that word.
No, he intentionally said to the death of me because it really bothered, from what I understand, it really bothered Tua and his camp that nobody knew his concussions, and understand that next day after the game, he didn't have any headaches. He didn't have any sensitivity to light. He didn't have concussion symptoms. He had just been knocked out cold. But it really bothers him and doesn't sit well that he's now the face of concussions. But as he says, these are the cards you're dealt.
It was good to see him. It was good to see him, though, right, Omar? Rocking the lava coming into the facility today, coming into the stadium.
You know what? Here's two things that I think people have not really realized about Tua, and I say this, and I want people to really grasp it. Tua represents not just the Miami Dolphins; he represents an entire culture of people. Polynesian people, Samoan people, like he represents an entire Pacific coast, the islands, and these people are people who pride themselves on their toughness, family and toughness. That's what their calling cards are. You guys know he spent the break getting the other sleeve done, getting the other sleeve on his arm done. To represent his people, to represent who he is. Do you think he's really going to walk away from the game? He's spent his entire life dreaming of playing, and he's the new Junior Seau and Troy Polamalu of his people. You think he's just going to walk away from that?
It was funny because this week during UFC fight week, Max Holloway was fighting for the belt, who's from Hawaii, and him and Tua kind of with that athletic respect for each other. And somebody asked him about he said he wasn't going to wear the Guardian cap. He goes, yeah, he's Polynesian. That's why. There's your answer right there. I was like, oh, all right. Well, thank you. Was an unfortunate thing for Max to lose the way that he did yesterday. But, listen, the guy's still a legend. And I know that he has a lot of respect for Tua, both being from Hawaii.
Yeah. So, he got the sleeve. He's a bad mamma jamma now. Now the question is he going to play like one?
And Omar, Tobin and I were discussing this before you came on in the previous segment. The idea of how Tua's going to approach, I guess today, but also the rest of the season. Again, with the understanding that we expect him to be healthy for the rest of the season. Who knows? But is extending plays, is running off the table? I'm not suggesting that Tua go head first and try to purposely take contact like he's Josh Allen. But I was explaining to Tobin my belief, which is there's going to be instances, 3rd and short, 4th and short, late in the game where the pocket might open up. He's just got to make a football play. Go down, obviously. Like, don't take contact, slide. But at some point, there's going to be a play where he has to go and get that yardage that the team needs their quarterback to go get. And I don't think he's going to shy away from it because, again, based on what he said and based on everything you just said, the dude is a warrior. And in his mind, he approaches the game that way.
I don't think he changes one bit of how he plays or wants to. Now, would I change it? Yes, but I think he can't go into it with the mindset. If you go in trying to play safe and try not to get hurt, I've always been told this, that's when you get hurt. I think he's going to, it never made sense to me that he was going to become the more athletic, the more scrambling Tua. But then he saw how all the elite quarterbacks are making making plays and extending plays, and he's like, I used to do that in my career too. Let me get back to it and drop all this baby fat. And he did it. Unfortunately, I think it probably doesn't necessarily suit him well because the athletic scrambling Tua is the one that can get his eggs scrambled. So I don't know what the future holds. I just think that he's going to be himself and he's going to continue to play. That I don't need Tua for his scrambling though. I need him for his accuracy, for his quick decision making, for his quick trigger.
How nervous are you not having Zack Seeler? That was a brutal loss. And I don't know how they can afford this.
They can't afford it. They're going to make do with it, with Benito Jones and probably Paul Soliai playing a couple more snaps than they used to. Deshaun Hand stepping up into a starting role, but this is not something that they can afford, especially not this week, not against a physical battering ram like James Conner. But these are the things that make an NFL season. Somebody gets punched in the eye and they get their orbital bone broken. So this is part of the NFL. It happens to just about every team. Probably feels like it happens to Miami Dolphins a little bit more than everybody else, but this is just a reality of where you are in this league.
No, Omar, it definitely happens to the Dolphins more than anybody else. Like, not injuries in general, but like just these weird set of circumstances. Like going back to week 1, Tyreek Hill being detained outside the facility, and then like Zack Seeler, maybe your best defensive player, your second best defensive player in practice. Yeah, man, it's bizarre. But as far as the defense goes, Omar, do you like this matchup against the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray? I know the Dolphins, anytime they're playing a running back that poses that threat of extending plays and being able to scramble, it gets dicey a little bit. But haven't the Dolphins defense, haven't they shown this year that, that they've definitely been the better side of the football throughout the first 6 games?
Oh, absolutely. The Dolphins defense, with the exception of stopping the run, which is going to be a tremendous challenge for them today, either James Conner or Kyler Murray, they've been magnificent in, passing yards allowed, quarterback rating, third down defense. Overall, a lot of the things that show you that you're an efficient team, they're excelling at. Now, the 2 things that they're not getting is that they're not getting turnovers and they're not getting sacks. Now, if you can do those 2 things, if you can add them to, they're already a top 5 defense statistically right now. If you add that and then do a little bit better stopping the run, you're probably going to finish the season as a top 5 defense, and that means you're probably going to say goodbye to your defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, who everybody knew was probably on a pit stop here until somebody decides to make him a head coach.
Omar, you tweeted out this week a cool thing about Teron Armstead coaching up Chop Robinson and showing some leadership there. Could you give us a little sense of what was going on there with Teron and what he was trying to teach the rook?
Oh, apparently every Thursday, Teron works with Chop after practice and works on counter moves. Like, you do this as a polished offensive lineman, I'm going to do this. Try this. Or try when you make this step there, swing your body this way in order to get underneath me. It was a masterclass because everybody knows who's close enough to the game. Teron is a technician of the NFL. I want all Dolphin fans, to include you, Solana, put some respect on his name, because right now he's probably the first, if not the second best offensive lineman in the NFL. We know his fragility level. We know he doesn't really practice, but when Teron is healthy and right, he is a dominant elite player. And right now, he's part of the reason why they're having such sustained success running the football. And hopefully that can continue with Tua, because if you put this power rushing attack with Tua's decision making and quick trigger and the big play, this offense should be able to come alive. And one of the main catalysts for that is Teron Armstead, because he actually is making a lackluster offensive line. And I said, yes, lackluster. They're playing pretty respectable right now.
Well, I don't know where that's coming from, Omar. I never disrespected Teron Armstead. I just said the facts. I mean, the guy's
we can tell you were disrespecting him.
He's good for 3 or 4 missed games a season. I mean, I'm not saying anything out of line there, Omar.
I mean, if you showed up for your job 70% of the time and you did it well, I'm sure we'd look the other way when you didn't show up the other 4 times work duty calls.
Speaking of the stakes going into this game, okay, you get Tua back, Omar. Awesome. As you just mentioned, offensive line seems as healthy as it's going to be this season. Teron is going to go today.
Maybe one day they'll get Isaiah Wynn back. Maybe. I don't know.
maybe.
Yeah.
What are the stakes going into this game for Mike McDaniel, for the Dolphins offense in general, Chris Greer? Maybe. I mean, is it fair to evaluate today's performance and kind of make like a general statement on what this roster is and what it can be?
I said, I wrote in the Miami Herald, and I stand on this. The Dolphins have to win 4 of the next 5 games. Otherwise, Chris Greer, you can start saying your goodbyes. Because if they don't win 4 of the next 5 games, their playoff pictures and possibilities are out of the picture. And if you don't win this game, then you're possibly heading into Buffalo, and possibly heading into Buffalo with 2 wins. A loss to Buffalo will allow your team to circle the drain. You cannot afford that. So today is a must-win game from my perspective, unless you're going to go up there in Buffalo and beat the Bills.
One thing that's going to be interesting today, Omar, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle both showed up on the injury report, so I don't know what's going on there, but it is going to be the first time Tua and Odell will be on a field together. What do we expect the chemistry to be like? These guys say that they're very cool off the field, but they haven't gotten a ton of time together. Do you think this can unlock something with Odell, or not expecting much there?
I'm not expecting much there. I've watched Odell closely this week, and I hate to say it. He looks like an old player.
Ooh. And
the D. Estridge, in my opinion, is a better player, and that's who I'd be investing my playing time and snaps into. Odell just looks old, and maybe he comes alive, but maybe it's the fact that he's only practiced for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I don't know, but he looks old. I'm not banking on anything coming from that this season. Not right now.
Would you bank on Jalen Ramsey's high praise of Cam Smith? Because Solana was very dismissive of Jalen Ramsey.
I heard that conversation. Here's the thing about Jalen Ramsey, okay? Very surly individual. I'm sure you heard the whole interview where he was just like, all right, y'all gonna ask me the same questions y'all asked to everybody about Tua. Tua's great. Tua's a god. Tua's this. Tua's that. We happy to have him back. And then, and he's like, any other questions? And then I asked him about Cam, because this is, everybody knows that the draft picks have not done so well lately under the Chris Greer watch, with the exception of Devon Achane. This one, I could say, I don't know if it truly has to do with talent, because I watched the kid ball all training camp last year. I watched him do okay this training camp when he was healthy. And unfortunately, the old man curmudgeon didn't like him. And do I acknowledge that there are some immaturity things going on with Cam? Yes, there are. But here's the bottom line: can he play or can he not play? And I would argue that he can play. And let me say this about Jalen Ramsey: he doesn't throw around praise often. Jalen is as about as straight shooting, as cold blooded as it gets. And he would not tell you that Cam Smith could play if he couldn't. It's not like you never heard anybody endorse Noah Igbenogany, did you?
No.
And I think he might be starting in Washington, by the way.
He actually, he's been putting up some tackles. I'm not breaking down their film, but we looked the other day. I'm like, oh, look at him, he's doing things.
Yeah, the player he's probably facing is always open. You never heard people shower Noah Igbenogany with praise. I know Cam Smith is better. Do I think Cam Smith is an NFL starter? Probably not, but he'll have plenty of opportunity today. I think Jalen Ramsey's going to be playing a lot of the nickel's position. I think that's just something that they got to do while Cater's out, and then allow Cam Smith to be on the boundary. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out for him.
Yeah, real interesting. Omar, I am somebody who will proudly admit when they're wrong. And for about 4 weeks this year, every time you join us, I make a mockery of the Jonnu Smith package. This idea that Jonnu Smith was going to be highlighted after we just didn't see it. But Omar, we kind of saw it in Indy last week. Can that continue with Tua back? I know, look, I get it. Okay. Tyreek, Waddle, get them the ball. I realize that is priority number one. Yeah. And then you want that rushing game to definitely carry you as it did last week as well. But can this be something now that we actually get consistently from Jonnu, more targets, more receptions, more of him in the offense?
You know what's weird? We talked to the tight end coach this week, and he basically blamed Jonnu not playing more on Jonnu. And I was just like, wow, that's interesting. And you know, but we don't know what goes on behind the scenes in terms of guys' mastery and understanding of the offense or their shortcomings as a pass blocker, because, you know, people don't realize this, but, and I'm sure they do, Julian Hill is the number one tight end on the team right now. You know, Julian Hill has the most starts, has the most snaps, and most penalties as well. But he's such a physical blocker. He opens things up for the running game, which is why they tolerate all his penalties. And I think if Jonnu was doing better and from a run blocking standpoint, he'd play more. But yes, if the package, we watched the package, we wouldn't talk about the package if we didn't see the package in training camp. I know the Jonnu Smith package. I even asked Mike McDaniel one time, why is it that you're not using that? And he was basically like, you know, sometimes it's about the opponent and attacking an opponent's weaknesses. Sometimes it's about the situation of the game. And then sometimes it's just, you know, wrong. You know, we'll call the play and then they'll show us a defense and we'll go to another play. But yeah, I think when you're facing a tight end who will struggle against him, you're going to see the Jonnu Smith package be accentuated.
Appreciate the time, Omar. Take care.
All right, guys.
There you go. Omar Kelly, Miami Dolphins columnist from the Miami Herald. Appreciate him joining us. We'll take a break. More Game Day Uncensored after this.
WQAM broadcasting live from the
560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
All right, and welcome back, everybody. It's game day, uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Getting you ready for week 8. Dolphins, Cardinals from Hard Rock Stadium. Sure you guys are all filing in either to the stadium, getting ready to go and get your seats ready. So I appreciate everybody tuning in on either the Odyssey app or on YouTube and Twitch, Miami 560 WQM, or the regular old radio, if that's the case as well. But let's start looking at the action for this week. It's Hard Rock Stadium, so let's get to our Porpoise props.
It's time for...
I don't know about you, but that looked like money.
Porpoise props.
Hopefully you didn't jinx us.
Props.
All right, Porpoise props brought to you by Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us. Solana just did it. Julian Hill anytime touchdown.
Stop it. Come on, Tobin. Come on.
I don't like it because it's, his numbers are cut in half with Tua back. He's normally been around plus 2,000. Now he's just a tickle.
Just send me the money, bro. What?
No,
I'll put it to good use. Just send it to me.
I'm not going to do that. All right, the anytime touchdowns. You got Devon Achane as the Dolphins' favorite today at minus 120. Tyreek Hill's at plus 105 on the Hard Rock app. Raheem Mostert's plus 150. Jalen Waddle's plus 175. Jonnu Smith, you love the Jonnu Smith package, plus 300. The rookie and Odell Beckham, Jalen Wright and Odell Beckham, both plus 550. And Tua to get a rushing touchdown by himself, plus 900 today. Any of that? What intrigues you the most about getting into the end zone? Who do you like?
So you're not putting a prop on a little flyer on Tua plus 900 to get in the end zone, Tobin?
Nope.
As far as touchdowns go, I have a hard time believing that today Tyreek Hill's not going to get targeted. And I know in the red zone we've talked about Jonnu Smith. I made all the jokes in the world about don't give me the backdoor fade to Tyreek Hill in the red zone, but like you said, Tobin, first play of the game, it feels like you're going to get the deep ball to Tyreek Hill. I don't care if the Cardinals are playing too deep. I don't care if they're double teaming Tyreek Hill. This dude told the entire fan base to start him in fantasy. He has talked to Tua, he has talked to McDaniel, and he has said, "Get me the Duke, all right? Get me the pigskin." So I don't think that's a bad prop to put a little change on Tyreek Hill to score a touchdown. I'm not saying it's a lock. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I don't think it's stupid considering you're getting plus money for it at plus 105. So I think that's as good of a flyer to take as any for today's game.
It just feels like that has to be the whole basis of today's game. Like, get your star receivers involved. Like, the Dolphins made the decision this offseason. The three faces of our team are Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill. Every one of them has been non-existent either for injury or performance. They have not been able to lean on the foundation of their franchise, shaky as it may be right now. I have to feel like this is a game where not only Tyreek Hill is in the plans, but Jalen Waddle as well.
Yeah.
All this, they're going to blanket us. They're going to take that away. Tua's going to live over the middle of that field. I think he's going to try and take chunks every time that he can. I like Jalen Waddle over 4.5 catches today. I feel like that is a place you get that at plus 120 right now. I feel like Tua is going to be looking for Waddle. I think Cheetah, of course, he's going to be looking for the home run ball on him. But this feels to me, Solana, where like you have to go with what brought you to this dance, and we just haven't seen it so far this year, other than second half in Jacksonville.
Right. I don't know, Tobin. Like, what are you expecting though, as far as the offense? Like, we know, okay, they're going to try to make it look as normal as possible going back to last year. But, even Beasley told us this isn't a game. I think it was Beasley. Maybe it was Omar. This isn't a game where Tua's going to get 40 opportunities to throw the football. Like, they're going to lean on the run game. So where do you see it today? 25, 30 passes for Tua Tagovailoa, not completions, but just passes in general in that realm. And if so, I mean, you kind of have to start factoring it in, right? Okay, Tyreek's going to get 8 to 10 targets. Waddle's going to get 6 to 8 targets. Jonnu Smith, maybe a couple targets as well. I guess you just have to play the numbers there. I don't know how you see this one shaping up for the Dolphins offense.
I just think that that's something you say, like, hey, we want to lean on the run game because that's what I did. But, like, I've also watched a Hard Knocks where Mike McDaniel really loves getting Tyreek Hill the football.
Yeah.
And if that guy is going to be out here and he is touting all that, like, it's time to give that guy the football. Like, all right, cute. We found a nice little balance here with Jalen Wright. I'm not saying it's not any part of the game, but I think it's time to let the big dogs eat. Like, to me, this is where it has to happen. This is the matchup where it has to happen. You go to Buffalo, you want to control the game a little bit more. I understand that. This team in particular in Arizona, they're a banged up defense. They're going to probably want to do that where they're leaning on James Conner a little bit and trying to make this a bend don't break game. I think you got to break them. I think you got to take them over your knee and break them, dude. And try and what are we doing here? We're going to slow roll this thing. Let's get to it. Chop, chop. He's been out here. He's been telling me he's been fine for 5 weeks. Mike McDaniel can spit all he wants, but I'm playing all the Tua overs, dude. I'm going over on touchdown passes. They got him at 1.5. I'm going over. They got Tua at 251.5. I'm going over. They got Jalen Waddle. I'm going Jalen Waddle over 53.5.
Oh, boy.
I'm going Jalen Waddle anytime touchdown. I don't care. I'm putting my chips to the table on this team. I'm going on the Tua return. I'm in on it. And I also have my Julian Hill anytime touchdown.
Everything else was pretty ridiculous. Julian Hill takes the cake. Tobin, nobody wants to be on the sideline having Tyreek Hill chewing out McDaniel less than Mike McDaniel. So you're like, I envision this the same way you do, which is Mike McDaniel saying, I can't have the cheetah yelling at me again on Channel 7 today. I just can't. I can't have it.
Can't do it.
He's gonna let, I think, Tua just go out there and be Tua Tagovailoa. It's a situation where we've talked about the stakes going into today. I don't see another avenue for Miami than this offense just clicking today. Okay, McDaniel, you couldn't get it done with the backup quarterback. Fine, you have your starting quarterback now. Tua, no symptoms. You feel good. Okay, you guys are together again. You're on the field again. Go make magic. How we saw so many times last year.
That is your Porpoise Props, sponsored by Hard Rock Bet. Hard Rock, roll with us. Take a break. Give some final thoughts as Game Day Uncensored gets closer to kickoff. We'll predict the game ball back after this.
Brian Ranke here from Sunday Night Football on West
Let's get back to Game Day Uncensored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here. 560 WQAM. Tobin and Solana here with you as we take you guys up to this 1 o'clock kick. Miami Dolphins taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Dan Day producing for us today. He will come your way at 4 o'clock today with Game Day Uncensored post-game edition 4 to 7:30, Dan? 4 to 7:30. Anything in particular you're looking for today, Dan Day, with this game? What do you got your eye on? You looking at the offense? You worried about the defense? What's got your eye today?
100% looking at the offense. I want to see if it's a night and day difference with Tua back at quarterback because
Agreed. So tune in at 4 o'clock. Dan Day will have you covered there as you guys will be on your way home, hopefully happy from Hard Rock Stadium. Solana, let's predict the game ball here today. We got about 5 minutes left. In your mind, Dolphins get a win today. Who is hoisting the game ball? And not these Mike McDaniel rules where everybody gets a game ball. I'm talking you got to pick one person that's going to be the standout stud of today's game. Who do you got?
Well, I don't know who's going to be the standout stud. But if the Dolphins win this game today, Tobin, they put up points, right? We're in agreement. I'm not saying they put up 50 points, but they put up 21, 24, 30. I mean, they're scoring touchdowns today, right? We're in agreement if they're going to win this game.
So. I mean, I hope so. I mean, I don't think it's impossible for them to win like a 17-13 but I don't want that. I mean, I want to win fun.
All right. Me too. And if they do, then it's obvious who it goes to. It's Uno. I don't even if Tyreek has like 180 yards and 2 touchdowns, Tua Tagovailoa, they get this victory today, and the offense looks at least somewhat like a productive offense. I think Tua Tagovailoa is getting the game ball. I would give Tua 2 game balls. I would give Tua 3 game balls, and I would put his mug on that stupid elevator that they keep posting every single week.
You don't like the elevator bit? I love the elevator bit.
I actually do like the elevator bit. I don't know why I called it stupid. I got carried away a little bit, but I want to see Tua. I am. I'm frustrated. I want to see Tua on the elevator. So I don't see any other scenario. And if this Mike McDaniel decides to give out a team game ball, I mean,
he's going to. I mean, that's what because he's going to do the thing where, like, he doesn't want to, make it seem like Tua is the savior. And then if Tua is the savior, he looks a fool. So, like, he's going to give it to, like, Austin Jackson or somebody like that. And then the whole offensive line. And really, everybody's got to get balls. Also, stop giving fullback dives, dude. We've had enough. We've gone to that well. You don't have to. You're not impressing anybody, Mike. These 2 Butterfingers from last week, they need retribution. They need redemption. So I need to see that. But I'm with you. I think this is it. It just feels like if this Dolphins season is going to be anything, and you and I will be on next week at 9 a.m. and we're going to get ready for a big one. But it feels like if it's going to go anywhere, it has to go back to what this thing was all built of. It's all nice. The run game is established. Jonnu Smith got involved. But this thing has 3 faces to it. It is Tua, it is Cheetah, and it is Waddle. And I need all of them to really contribute to this game because this has felt almost like a lost season for all of them thus far. And it shouldn't because they were paid like they are the faces of the franchise. And they put fear into everybody's hearts. You had Mel Kiper talking about changing the rules because, these guys can't get the football anymore. Enough is enough. Enough to sit around here with this game of boredom. I want to see the Dolphins go out there, be explosive. I don't want this to be an NFL where the Lions are all of a sudden the talked about offense in the league. And because if they can't do it against this team, I don't really know what team they can do it against. I certainly don't have expectations next week. I mean, Sean McDermott has Mike McDaniel's number like none other when it comes to shutting down this offense. Don't even get me started on Josh Allen. So if it's not this week, if we're talking about a Dolphins team that's 2-5 by the time we get to 4:30 p.m. today, man, you might want to start looking at trade packages for somebody and start thinking about that type of stuff, because this season will genuinely feel like it is over. Because then at what point do you expect them to start getting wins?
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't look good today, and I'm not trying to put that into the universe, all right? I fully expect it to look a lot better. But if it doesn't, Tobin, there's going to be chatter not just about trades, but like, is it worth putting Tua out there versus Buffalo next week? Is it worth putting Tua out there at all, considering the idea that this season is toast and it's donezo? Why not just save him, let him get a full season of rest, and try to get back to the grind next season? I don't want that, by the way. I'm just saying those conversations are going to be there, but I don't want to have those conversations, man. You can be 3-4. You're 10th in the AFC right now. It is not impossible to, at the very least, make the playoffs. And then, Tobin, you never know. I'm not suggesting a Super Bowl run, but if you told me the Dolphins could make the playoffs this year, considering what we just saw for the past 4 weeks, I'd sign up for that every single time. But today we find out, like, are they?
I want to believe that too. I'm with you, dude. I want to believe that too, but it has to start like this week. You know, this is because this is the actual. Okay, this is the team you went out there and built. It's great to talk about. Hey, go coach them up and Mike McDaniel. That this now the offense is as healthy as the offense has ever been. We know that they got stuff on defense. Somehow the defense can have all these. They can have a leg chopped off, and they're just going to figure it out and only give up 14 points. It's incredible what they're able to do. The offense really has no excuses today. They have no excuses other than you want to pull some boldly. Oh, rust! Like, come on, dude. Like that's not going to sit well with anybody out there.
Don't expect the the 8-minute first drive that I think you're expecting, Tobin, because I think rust.
I don't. I think two plays,
okay.
Hand off to Mostert, bomb to Cheetah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, see, here's the problem though. Right there. That's why McDaniel tried to pump the brakes a little bit, because people like you, you're just expecting Tua to come out here. First play, 90-yard bomb for a touchdown.
He wants to do it too. He's not going to act like he's above it. Hand off to Mostert, first down. All right. 2nd and 4, bomb to Cheetah.
Okay. All right. Okay. I hope you're right.
That is Game Day Uncensored, everybody. We will talk to you guys same time next week, 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock. Dan Day will have Game Day Uncensored post-game coming at 4 p.m. Enjoy the action, everyone.
For a limited time only, buy a Chevy or GMC EV and get a free wall charger.